What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news. Streaming live for you guys over on YouTube today. You can also catch us live over on Facebook as well, and Twitch for you video game streamers out there. And if you guys are listening to us on Spotify, thank you very much for listening to us over there as well, where we have not only audio versions, but now video versions as well. And we usually like to go ahead and drop these Spotify A+ Hero Report episodes for you guys either later tonight or at least first thing Monday morning for you guys to certainly enjoy. But thank you, everybody, from wherever you're certainly watching us live today. We certainly do appreciate it. If you're in the live chat, do us a big favor, hit that like button, guys. It takes little of your time to go ahead and just support the channel in that way if you'd like to. So definitely go ahead and hit that like button if you're certainly joining us. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do so. But happy Sunday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, wherever you're at, the weather is okay. It's gotten a little bit chillier out here in the Fort Worth area. We did have just some crazy rain a couple days ago, honestly. But hopefully, spring will certainly start feeling like spring here relatively soon. So wherever you guys are at, certainly hope you guys are doing fantastically well. And we don't have the full crew today. I am waiting for Indy to certainly join us. But as of right now, good old Stuart Branscombe certainly coming through, joining us once again. What's up, buddy? It's always good to see you, man, every weekend. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really good. Always good to be here every weekend. How have you been doing?
Not too bad, man. This I will say this, a little bit bummed in the sense that my car is broken down again. I got another issues with my car. We have a mechanic that we had come out and look at my vehicle. He says it's going to cost me like $800 to fix. So I'm like,
Ooh.
ouch. There is another car that I do own that is in the driveway that's going to be a little bit cheaper to go ahead and fix. So I think we're going to try and tackle that sometime soon, especially with our income tax and things like that certainly coming through. So I need a car, man. I need a car because right now I'm not able to commute or get anywhere, and I hate having to ask people for rides. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. The one good thing about living in the city is that you rarely need a car, and usually the only times I do drive nowadays is when I'm leaving the city, not necessarily when I'm going somewhere within the city itself.
That is one of the downsides to living in Texas, or at least in this part of Texas. The public transportation just really isn't that reliable. I wish we had more reliable transportation, just like everywhere, for us to be able to get around a lot easier to commute. But it can be a little bit of a hassle. I definitely feel like if you live in Texas, you sort of like need a car. It's not like I can walk down the block to like the neighborhood market or something like that and pick up whatever I need. If I have to go and get something, I have to get my car and certainly drive. So it's a little bit of a bummer in that sense.
Yeah.
But let me see. What else do we got going on this week? Oh, Shazam, Fury and the Gods wind up dropping this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't had the opportunity to go check it out, feel free to pick up your tickets if you'd like to. I believe they had pre-screenings on Thursday. The official release was yesterday. Excuse me, was on Friday. Stuart, I know you got the opportunity to go ahead and check out Shazam, Fury of the Gods. You have a non-spoiler review that's set to drop later on this afternoon, correct?
That is correct. Although I will say maybe the thumbnail is a bit of false advertising, because technically at the very end of the video, I do have a couple spoilery things that I bring up, but I do make sure to put in tags when they come up. And I made sure to like say this is going to be a spoiler, so click out of the video now before continuing. But everything before that, yeah, it's all non-spoiler. But overall, it was a fun movie. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
I have not, but all the reviews that I've heard so far have been relatively positive. I kind of ignored all of the sort of early reactions. I tend to do that now, but even once the movie has been released, I feel like people that have definitely seen it have certainly enjoyed it for what it was. There's a lot of people out there that I definitely trust their point of view and perspective on the film, and so to hear some positive feedback for Fury of the Gods kind of gets me excited, man. But you were a fan?
Yeah, I liked it overall. I think that the first one was definitely a lot better, but I still think this was a very solid follow-up. And, I feel like it, moved the story overall forward. Like, I think that the best thing that it does is continuing the arc where we left off with Billy. The arc that he kind of goes through now feels like a perfect continuation of where we left off in the previous movie.
And the question I always have, especially when it comes to this, because a Black Adam, I think I went in with certain expectations of what to expect from a Rock movie. But when it comes to this film, generic superhero film or not at all?
I'd say above, better than a generic superhero film. I enjoyed this way more than I did Black Adam.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And I tell you, man, Stuart, it's always funny to me that Cinema Score came out. I think they recently graded Shazam: Fury of the Gods a B plus. I think it might be about the same grade that they gave something like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But I just gotta say, man, it just makes me chuckle these days when movies that come in at like a B plus or like a 82, 85 in Rotten Tomato scores. Like the idea of a 85 these days is like trash to people. It's like when did that become just like mediocre? Like I guess it was an okay movie. Like when did that start happening, man?
I want to say it was around The Last Jedi when people wanted to say that this movie was terrible, even though it was getting good reviews. So they had to suddenly, in order to win an argument, be like, "Oh, see, it's in the '80s and not the '90s, which means that is total trash."
It just blows my mind. I feel like sometimes we find it hard to just enjoy enjoyable movies. Like things are not always meant to be perfection, you know what I mean? And I feel like we've kind of lost that. Like it's perfect or nothing these days. And so it kind of drives me a little bit crazy. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it, man. I definitely plan on checking it out. It is something me and the girlfriend want to do. And once we do, I think we should probably host a spoiler review. Are you up for that?
Yeah, I'd definitely be down. There were a lot of specifics I wanted to get into about what worked really well, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to like get into those, of course, because they would have been spoiler territory. So I'd love to do a spoiler review at some point.
Okay, I'll definitely try and see if me and the girlfriend can pull the trigger to see it within the next 2 days or so. It's just a matter of trying to find somebody to watch Kiddo for us. The girlfriend always pushes me to go see movies by myself, and I always feel terrible about it. I'm like, "No, babe, come on, let's go. We got to figure this out." So we'll see what happens here. I do believe we've got Indy with us. Give me a thumbs up whenever if you're ready to go, Indy. Okay, I think that's a thumbs up. So let's go ahead and bring Indy in here, able to join us. What's up, man? We finally got the whole crew today. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good. What's going on, guys? Little bit hungover, but I'm good. I'm good.
Party hard last night. What was the event, man?
40th. I turned 40 yesterday.
Look at this
wow.
old man. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, it was just celebration of life, I would guess.
Happy birthday,
nice.
Indy.
Happy
Everybody
birthday.
give Indy a fantastic happy birthday. Send him maybe some super chats if you want to, some super stickers. Show him some love today, man, for your birthday, bro. Would you go? Would you go out to dinner, drink? What happened?
Yeah, went out to dinner. Thirsty Goat. It's a local brewery out here in Wisconsin. Got to try
Shout
a
out
bunch
Thirsty
of delicacies. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So
okay.
that's what I call mine. I call them delicacies. Just sounds better rolling off the tongue.
A beer connoisseur over there. I
Yeah.
like it.
Then went to the movies. Hadn't had the chance to see Creed yet, so when I saw Creed, came back, chill with the kids, and it was overall a good day. It was real chill and relaxing. It's what I needed. We don't need to go out and celebrate like and party and club and stuff like that anymore. I did all that in my 20s, so it was kind of cool just to sit back and enjoy family.
Yeah, man. I feel like birthdays hit different once you start getting to like your mid 30s. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You just have a different perspective on what you want your birthdays to be. So yeah, man. Happy 40th, bro. Welcome to the club. Stuart, catch up, man. You gotta catch up.
No, I'm good taking my time getting there.
We need to build you a time machine or something. So like, or we need something to aid you. Like you need one
Come
of them
in and out whenever you want to.
One of them guns the Power Ranger villains had that made them older. You need one
Oh,
of those.
yeah.
Shoot them with one of those.
Or just like the morpher that like Justin used, so he'd go from being a kid to being an adult when he was a Power Ranger.
Yeah. You only need like 5 years. We just want to give you 5 years.
Yeah, just morph into a midlife crisis real quick. You know what I'm saying? All right, fellas. Let's go ahead and I'm going to do some quick shout outs in here, give some people some love. And the first person I definitely got to give some love to, Blossom coming through. She wound up donating a super sticker to us today. I believe it was a gigantic diamond. making us shine bright like a diamond. Thank you so much, Blossom. I appreciate the support for the channel as always coming through. So Blossom has certainly joined us today. We got the most talented man in the world certainly coming through as well. Adam Perea is certainly here with us as well today. We got Enrique Perez. He says, I just saw the Oscars, the movies. Black Panther 2 wins Best Costume Design, and Avatar Where the Water wins Visual Effects. Also, I think by this week, they might be a trailer for Once and Always. We'll definitely talk about that. Ooh, who else we got in here? Dino Knights Fight for Your Rights. What's up, Dino? We got John Schuyler in the house with us. Good old Power Rangers Legacies here. Carter Matthews is gracing us with his presence. Jack Daniels is certainly in the house. Nicole Robertson certainly coming through. We got our international superstar Francois certainly here as well. Gabriel, what's up, Gabe? Good to see you. Certainly see you, man. Who else we got? Stuart is certainly in the house. Datilla certainly coming through. Carter says, what cars do you have? I got a 2006 Kia Spectra that's in the driveway right now. I can't remember what the I think it's a Hyundai something in the front. Honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head, Carter. I'll let you know though. Who else we got? Marcelino certainly in the house. Good old Jackson Peterson is here, not to be mistaken for Peter Jackson. And we got you happy birthday, Indy, coming from Datilla. What's up? Appreciate you coming through. All right. Gabriel says, Stuart, in San Francisco, you have no excuse not to drive because the roads are so narrow and not enough parking.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I absolutely hate driving in the city. Mostly because other drivers are idiots, but more than that, pedestrians and bicyclists are idiots and will constantly try to cut me off and everything. And the worst part is if I get cut off by them, it's the city's gonna look at it as my fault if there's an incident. So it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna play it safe and not drive.
That sounds like New York to me, man. We usually definitely don't need a car in New York, that's for sure. My uncle, when I was younger, he used to rent a car and we would drive into the city and literally park and then just walk everywhere else. And I remember when we went and visited, me and my family went and visited, we got into 2 car accidents. I kid you not, when we went to New York. One stopped at a light. Somebody literally rear-ended us, stopping at a light. And then I drove one day and some fucking taxi like sideswiped my fucking mirror when we were in New York, man. Just not sticking in his own lane. It was just, yeah, man, it's bananas out there. I just rather not have to drive inside of a city, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've been to New York once in my life when I was really young, and one of the few things I can remember about it is that the cliche in a lot of movies that take place in New York City about taxi drivers being freaking insane, they under exaggerate.
Yeah, man. They have no sense of lanes or anything like that. They just go wherever they need to go, type of thing. But yeah, that's New York for you. All right, guys. So those are the shout outs. Let's get to our honorable mentions, man. Anybody got any honorable mentions for us today? Stuart, Indy, you want to kick us off?
I got one from a recent movie that's coming out. And normally I really wouldn't have even thought of this movie too much, but just the way I was introduced to this movie, I think is kind of hilarious. So as you guys know, there's a new movie, The Little Mermaid, coming out, of course, the new Disney live action remake. And I saw a trailer for it when watching Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Immediately after that trailer, I saw this trailer for a movie. There it is. Called what is it? Ruby Gilman. The Teenage Kraken. And in this movie, basically Krakens are the good guys and mermaids are apparently the villains in this movie. Now the main villain, this is what she looks like.
Oh, Ariel?
It's basically Ariel, yeah. Like,
she took her dad's trident. What's she doing?
Yeah. So I just thought that was just absolutely hilarious. The fact that they just like aren't even trying to hide the fact that they're like, this kind of reminds me of Shrek, how they had like a lot of Disney factors like playing into the part of the villains, such as like Lord Farquaad himself being based on like a Disney CEO. And that kind of stuff. So I thought this was just absolutely hilarious and like petty, but in like a funny way. And the fact that it played right after the Little Mermaid trailer, I thought was even more funny. So yeah, I felt like I needed to share that.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of that film or seen a trailer for it. Indy, is that something that you've heard about? Have you heard about this film at all?
This is the first time I'm seeing it. It's absolutely hilarious.
Me
And
too.
I like the fact it looks like a Dragon Ball poster.
Oh my god, it kind of does. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Thanks for introducing us to this film store, because honestly, I had not even heard of this, honestly. And usually, when it comes from DreamWorks, I feel like we would be hearing about it, or at least reading articles about it, throughout the year when it was in development. But I had never heard that before. Let's see here. What you got any honorable mentions for us, Indy, or anything?
My honorable mention you put on the thumbnail, so I am good.
Okay, all right. So we're definitely gonna be talking about it today.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple quick other honorable mentions. Then we got our first posters for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 30th anniversary coming up once and always. You can start marking your calendars once again, literally a month away, ladies and gentlemen. April 19th, a month from today, MMPR's 30th anniversary special once and always will be dropping on Netflix, a 55-minute film for you guys to certainly sink your teeth into. And we got ourselves different looks at this poster. I think David Yost also posted like a poster for like your phone or something like that. You might be able to find an image of that on Twitter, on David Yost's Twitter handle. But we get also an exclusive look here at Robo Rita herself, kind of teasing her in that top corner above Billy there, glowing red eyes. Definitely looks very robotic. To me, it looks like a mixture of Scrozzle and the Machine Empire if they were to have a baby. But it looks menacing just from the tease alone. But what do you guys think?
I mean,
you hyped for it?
I thought the exact same thing. Like I got major Machine Empire vibes from this. So I'm like kind of wondering now if King Mondo has something to do with her being rebuilt, or if maybe it's just a coincidence.
Have we ever had the origins of Scrozzle?
No,
I don't think so.
I would love him to be like the love child of somebody from the Machine Empire, or him related in some way to the Machine Empire. And I think that'd be kind of cool for his story to kind of come full circle. I mean, Homeboy's literally been with us for like 3 seasons already, 4 seasons of Power Rangers, always managing to kind of pop up in some way or another. So it'd be cool if his story kind of comes full circle and we learn that he's part of the Machine Empire in some way or another. Some of the photos that we had seen from MMPR, let me see if I can pull them up here. When they're inside the lair or Rita's castle, it looks like they're standing in front of a bunch of technology here. I mean, I get like Machine Empire vibes just from like the design of some of the stuff in the background. So I'm kind of hoping that they're there, but that could just be me just wishing, if you will. But are you guys excited for this from the posters?
Hashtag give Rocky more love. It's not like he isn't. It's not like he isn't a Red Ranger. He looks like somebody just photoshopped him, and like he wasn't in the photo, so they just photoshopped him in the back. Like, oh, we forgot about him.
We forgot about him. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they'll give him some love for sure. I'm hoping so. He looks jacked for the role, so I'm hoping it comes out looking great. But yeah, guys, mark your calendars. April 19th. Then who?
I was gonna say he looks in better shape than St. John.
Honestly, yeah.
If anything, I am hoping that this means that we get ourselves a trailer this week. We got ourselves one. What's up, Syndrome? Good to see you in here, man. We got literally 4 weeks left. So I'm hoping that if not this week, I'm hoping by next week that we wind up getting ourselves a trailer. Do you expect us to get a trailer relatively soon, guys? I'm thinking this week. I can't imagine waiting any longer than that.
I feel like if it doesn't come this week, it's not coming at all.
I feel like there should be a trailer for this. Like, no matter what you click on Netflix, they should just run a trailer of this. It should be a skippable. But like, if you're gonna watch or you decide you decide you want to watch something on Netflix, they should just run this trailer in front of everything.
HBO Max and Paramount Plus both do that, so why not Netflix too? Yeah. Give this some advertisement. Give it
Stars does it too. Like you go on the Stars app to watch your Power Book of Ghost or whatever, and the next thing you know, you get a trailer for 2 shows that you're probably never going to watch before the show even starts. So Like, do it,
Yeah, I don't
Netflix.
know.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know why Netflix doesn't do that. I think it'd be a great way to promote some of their upcoming content.
yeah, definitely.
And then shout out to Double C for certainly coming through as well. A couple other quick honorable mentions. We finally got ourselves our very first look at the new Lex Luthor. Michael Cudlitz, I believe is his name, went ahead and released from Entertainment Weekly, released a brand new photo here, getting our opportunity to check out his version of Lex Luthor, which he mentions is going to be a rather surprising take on the character. So, I miss you, John Cryer, already. But Michael does pull off a great beard here. The Lex Luthor with beards have been very popular as of late. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what he brings to this dynamic. And Stuart, considering the fact that you do review Superman and Lois, you did go ahead and drop your episode 1 review for Superman and Lois, which is doing fantastic, by the way. What are your thoughts in regards to Michael here playing Lex Luthor? And have they teased them at all in the first episode that you saw, or not at all, or what's going on with this?
Well, he was name dropped in the first episode. But that was about it.
Oh, okay.
As for like what what I think of him now in this photo, I think he looks incredibly badass. I think this is going to be a very awesome take on the character. Something I noticed too is that unlike other Lex Luthors that we've gotten in the past, Bruce Willis, that's pretty funny. This one, it doesn't look like he's naturally bald, because you can look at his shirt and you can see like hair particles all over, and then you can also even just tell from looking at his head, like it looks like he just like shaved it with like a trimmer, it looks like a fresh cut. So kind of wondering if this is going to be like a version where he's not normally bald, and this is going to be like his first time like kind of going cue ball for this particular moment in the show.
Or don't tell Chris Rock, he might have alopecia.
When it comes to this, I am curious if when he goes to prison, if they like shave his hair off. It kind of reminds me of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Didn't they shave his hair off in prison too? I think towards the end of Batman and Superman. That's what it reminds me of when you mentioned that.
I try to forget that Lex Luthor.
I was gonna say, they were like, man, what if we took this scene, but we actually had it with an actor that looks like Lex Luthor?
Not sure exactly when this Lex will be showing up, but stay tuned for season 3 of Superman and Lois, and you'll certainly find out.
It sounds like because I don't think he was casted in the role until like they were already filming episode 10. So honestly, he probably won't really show up until like the very end of the season.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we'll see how much screen time he actually ends up having then. Let's see here. And speaking of that particular Jesse Eisenberg, let's get back to the Snyderverse real quick here, because Zack Snyder's got something coming, guys. I literally just went on a huge rant in our live viewer questions, I feel like last week or the week before. Like, I'm so tired. Like, I'm so over the whole Snyderverse thing at this point. And I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder and what he's certainly created. But sometimes that particular fandom has really exhausted this for me. But Zack Snyder this week dropped a quick video teasing some sort of incoming transmission with the voice of Darkseid, making an announcement for a particular date in April. But that's all that it is. I can't remember what the particular dates were, but we do hear Darkseid's voice with this term of an incoming transmission happening. Guys, what is going on here, man? What is it? You guys have any speculation as to what this certainly is? I don't think it's like, hey, we're bringing back the Snyderverse. I don't think that's what it is. What do you guys think, though?
They're gonna take what they want from the Snyderverse and bring it into where they want it, and say the only reason it's good is because they did it. I honestly believe that something's going to happen in Flashpoint where we just end up with Darkseid in their universe. You know what I'm saying? Type deal. That's the only thing I can think is good, because I don't see any other way they take Snyder's Darkseid and just drop him in there. So hopefully that's the only way I can feel to explain it, because that to me was one of the best interpretations I've seen of Darkseid in a long time that wasn't animated. Or attempt. And when I say that, I mean a lot of people have tried to emulate, you know what I'm saying, like the character of Darkseid or the look and stuff like that. But to me, especially in that extended cut, Darkseid was the dude. I liked everything that they were doing with that, and I was looking forward to more of that. So hopefully even if they just stick with the design and bring it over. I'm looking forward to anything Dark Side, because to me, how do you build to a Justice League and not have somebody of that caliber? You know what I'm saying? A Dark Side or a Brainiac, you know what I'm saying, to combat against.
What do you thinking this could be, Stuart? Anything?
I have no idea, because I highly doubt this is going to be a Justice League 2 continuation. I highly doubt it's going to be an announcement about them restoring the Snyder Cut. The only thing that would make sense to me is if this is a graphic novel that he's about to announce that's going to be a continuation. But yeah, I honestly have no idea. Part of me is worried because I don't want to dislike Zack Snyder as a person, so I hope to God this isn't it. But part of me just kind of feels like he's trying to rile up his fans in hopes of like getting his job back, and I hope that's not what he's doing, because that would be an extremely messed up thing to do, and I want to like Zack Snyder. So right now I'm going with my prediction. I'm going with the comic book announcement.
Okay. Shout out also to Patrick in here. What's up, Patrick? Appreciate you coming through. We also got Bug in the house today. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you all viewing today's episode. Yeah, I don't know what this is, man. I'm wondering if there's like a re-release of these movies, maybe coming to theaters. I wonder if that's something that's kind of being teased, but I'm kind of like you, Stuart, in the sense that while I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder, I just don't want him to give his fans reason to continue to just be loud. You know what I mean? The fact that they already create and cause so much noise, and it may not necessarily be everybody in that Restore the Snyderverse fandom, but there's definitely a portions of it that have certainly become just toxic. And the fact that it's like any DC film that comes out that's not Zack Snyder, not related to it, it is one of those things where it's just like they just don't want anything to do with it, right? And just completely shit on it and review bomb it, sort of thing. So it's like I don't need them to have more ammo for them to rejoice and continue to push the return of Zack Snyder. I personally was a fan of what he did with the DCEU. A lot of people, unfortunately, were not. And as much as I certainly would have loved to have seen that story continued, I'm kind of over it now. I'm kind of exhausted with it. So there's a part of me that is hoping that this is maybe just a re-release of like Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and his cut of Justice League, and that's it. And then I'm hoping after that, leave it alone. Just leave it alone, please, because they literally have just ruined it for me, man.
Yeah.
He
got to complete a trilogy, which is more than what most directors get.
Yeah.
And, on top of that, all the fans want to blame WB for him not being able to wrap up his story. He had a chance to do some reshoots. If he wanted to wrap up his story, he could have done it when he did the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, absolutely. Syndrome says Adam is sick of Snyder fans. At this point, I am. Like, I used to consider myself part of that. I was like, hashtag restore the Snyderverse. You know what I'm saying? We got our wish. We won. Leave it at that. But no, these people, you can't put them to bed anymore. Now you've given them something, and now they feel entitled for so much more. And it's just like, get out of here, man. You just becoming annoying, just entitled little assholes. But whatever. Anyway.
And then even like, okay, so even like when it comes to some of the Ray Fisher stuff, it's like now he's continuing the post saying that like, oh, hey, the leadership isn't or the current leadership is not suited for this kind of thing. And I'm just kind of like, what are you talking about? Everyone that you had an issue with is no longer working for the company. Yeah. So, it's like it now kind of comes off as him just like trying to get Zack Snyder his job back and not really giving a crap about who's like actually, running the studio now or how they're running it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, it makes no sense, man. It makes no sense. Leave James Gunn alone. He ain't do nothing to any of y'all. Leave this man alone. Somebody just hired him to do a job. All right. What else we got in honorable mentions? We did Lex Luthor, Zack Snyder. Quick new poster here from Mission Impossible. Dead Reckoning set to go ahead and drop July 14th. Everybody loves them some Tom Cruise. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of crazy ass stunts that this man is going to do, and this is just one of them. But this is one of the teaser posters for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, July 14th. I'm super excited for that. Adam Perez, A+ Hero Report is like Adam's open diary. Dear diary, today Zack Snyder fans drove me crazy. Um, we also got some set photos from Joker 2, guys. Joker 2. Good old Joaquin Phoenix back in his makeup, doing his Joker thing on set as we're going to have ourselves a musical. They also released some other photos, I believe, of Lady Gaga on set also. But I think it's cool to kind of see that this is actually happening and being filmed. How they're going to pull off a musical, I'm kind of curious. Do you guys expect there to be like a musical piece every set that we
God, I
wind
hope
up
not.
having, or do you think they will like really stretch it out to be some musical pieces, but then clearly performance and the actual story being driven behind this?
Can I say what I think this is? I really, really, really hope not. It doesn't turn into Joker Disney-fied.
Right.
But I really feel like looking at Joaquin Phoenix like face paint, I'm getting Heath Ledger vibes. And you know what I'm saying? There was a movie that he was in, A Knight's Tale, where they had an incredible dancing scene. You know what I'm saying? They did have the dancing scene from the first Joker movie. Maybe it's just an extension of that.
Okay.
Maybe like on the low, they're paying homage. You know what I'm saying? The different things that Heath Ledger did. Bringing Lady Gaga in is one of the points that could make it entertaining as far as like a musical goes, because you have to have somebody that at least has musical talent. I don't know if the rest of his cast has any. We know that Joaquin Phoenix can halfway dance downstairs. We don't know if he could do anything other than that. But
I mean, hey, he did play Johnny Cash.
Yeah, you're right about that.
He did play Johnny Cash.
I'm with Syndrome on this. If it's more than 3 musical numbers, I will walk out that theater.
That was a question I was gonna have. Is like, do you think how balanced is this movie gonna be? Is this gonna be a full on La La Land sort of thing, or is it just gonna be select few musical pieces, like 3 to 4 in here, or do you think it's gonna be a full on musical? I'm hoping that it's not a full on musical, but I can understand the idea of like 3 musical numbers. I'll even give them maybe 4 if it makes sense. But yeah, any more than that, I might be a little bit worried.
No, I'm gonna go with 5. I think they're gonna do 5, enough to like make it a musical, but not enough for like the musical numbers to drive the plot forward.
He just wants the review for after I walk out. That's why he went over 3. He just wants to see. He just wants to see the frustrated indie review on the Joker too. That's all it is.
But that, ladies and gentlemen, will be our honorable mentions for today's show. So thank you very much, everybody.
When I go to see this movie in theaters, if they go above 3, the moment they hit song number 4, I'm going to be like, ooh, I bet Indy just walked out right now.
I'm telling you, if it's more than 3, I'm going to take because I'm taking my popcorn with me. I will get a refill and put more butter on there. I'm going to take it with me. You know what I'm saying? Taking my drinks, but any candy wrappers, anything that I got, I'm sorry. Stu, I know you have to feel about this. I'm leaving them on the floor. I'm gonna tell you right
dang. It's not like the employees
what they do to you.
Put 5 songs in the movie.
Yeah, what they do to you. All right, guys. So yeah, 3 is the magic number when it comes to Joker musical pieces. We'll see. We'll see what the Joker 2 has in store for us. But I will say, if there is anybody that I think can pull off the musical numbers, I am glad that they do have 2 talented people in Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga to certainly do that. So we'll see how enjoyable this movie turns out to be. We'll see if it's another $1 billion movie or not. So we'll have to find out. That in fact will do it. What's up, Billy? Good to see you in here. What are your thoughts on the Little Mermaid trailer? We will get to the Little Mermaid trailer. That's probably actually our last story of the day, Billy. So hopefully you certainly stick around or certainly come back for it. But let's kick off our main topic, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? We've been doing honorable mentions for quite some time. But you guys ready to go ahead and tackle today's topics with me?
Let's do it. It's
Always.
morphin' time.
It's morphin' time.
All right, let's get into this shit. All right, we're going to go ahead and start off on our Marvel Sony soapbox here. As this week, Empire Magazine has been highlighting their Spider-Man Across the Universe issue. And anytime Empire highlights like brand new exclusive photos or reveals, brand new cover images. You just know we're going to get ourselves a plethora of articles to sink our teeth into and bite into. And so today I wanted to go ahead and do a small little preview. I'm sure we'll do another preview as we get closer to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But today I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit more about Across the Spider-Verse because some big things are being said about this film. Not only do we have Shameik Moore, who does the voice of Miles Morales, coming out and talking about this, but Christopher Miller himself, the person behind the Spider-Man universe, if you will, over at Sony, Phil and Lord Miller, they are in fact talking very highly about what this movie could be. And it's getting to the point of, I don't want to say cliche, but I always hear this term when it comes to people discussing the sequel. It's the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. Man, it's the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. Everybody certainly says that about this film. The question that we have, though, does it live up to the hype? So let's go ahead and dive into this and have this discussion. Let's see exactly what they are talking about in regards to this upcoming Across the Spider-Verse. It says from Empire Magazine, it says, yeah, Across the Spider-Verse is the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy, says Chris Miller. And then we also have some exclusive images that we'll show you guys here very briefly. But it says, back in 1980, Empire Strikes Back set the gold standard for blockbuster sequels, taking all that original Star Wars goodness and adding in some real darkness, a load of new worlds and characters, and a heap of pretty gnarly emotional stuff too. It was challenging, but a good kind of challenging, more like learning how to make rocks levitate than trying to survive a Sarlacc pit. It's a bold gambit to aim for that high watermark with the middle of a trilogy sequel, but Across the Spider-Verse is hoping to conjure some of that Empire Strikes Back magic. This is what the producer Christopher Miller says. He says, people who've seen Across have told us that it feels like the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Man franchise. It shows you worlds you haven't seen, and it's an emotional story that ends in the place where you need to see the third one. So yeah, this is our Empire. Buckle up, everyone. It says upping the stakes too will be a fresh batch of baddies beyond main antagonist the Spot. The Across the Spider-Verse trailer saw Miles Morales brawling with Oscar Isaac's Spider-Man 2099. As well as presenting a bigger story told across 5 different universes, the sequel will present more personal challenges for Miles, rediscovering his place in the multiverse and figuring out what that means for his personal relationships. Didn't somebody once say something about great power and great responsibilities? It says Miles thought he'd never see his friends again, says Kemp Powers. But in this sequel, he reconnects with Gwen and discovers she's part of a group of spider people whose mission is to protect the multiverse. From there, he ends up on his adventure to different worlds. He's older, a little more experienced, but he's missing his friends. He's growing in skill, but he wants more of a challenge. By the sound of it, that's exactly what he's going to get. So definitely giving us some insight in regards to where not only Miles Morales finds himself, but also the producer Christopher Miller talking about the idea that, yeah, everybody that's seen this movie feels like this is our Empire Strikes Back. World you haven't seen, an emotional story, and it ends in a place where you need to see the third one. So buckle up, guys. So let me throw this over to you first, Stuart. You hear this from Christopher Miller. Are you trusting him when he talks this way? What are you expecting from this film?
Um, I will admit, nothing he says here really surprises me because most of this is stuff that I was already kind of expecting when it comes to the sequel. But yeah, just him kind of reinforcing what I was expecting. Just once again, gets me just as excited as I was before. I think the fact that he acknowledges that Miles is going to be older and more mature, wanting that challenge, and then then it's going to be kind of like one of those careful what you wish for kind of things. I think that sounds like a perfect way to continue his story. Yeah, overall, I'm really hyped.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped for it too. It kind of also remembers when they talk about just the idea of it being on the emotional side of things. It kind of reminds me of when we were watching the trailer, just something that his mom talked about. You know, it feels like they had a very sentimental and sort of mom and son talk on top of that roof, almost acting like she wasn't going to see him again, kind of giving him like things to look out for and how to protect himself when he's kind of away from home, sort of thing, right? So it does feel like a big jump here for Miles, and certainly an emotional one. When it comes to you, Indy, is that kind of the vibes that you're getting? Would you pick apart what Christopher Miller's saying here?
For me, it has to be better than Empire Strikes Back. I'm of the cut that I'm tired of things getting related to the Empire Strikes Back. I'm waiting for
I
that
get you.
something that becomes better than that. That we start, I want people to start going, okay, this is going to be the across the universe. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to be wild, awed, and mystified more than that, because to me, especially where Star Wars has gone, Empire for me isn't, you know what I'm saying, the selling point anymore. With
Mm.
the Mandalorian, other movies, stuff we have, I feel like they've exceeded at times what Empire was. I understand that feeling that people had, but come on, man. We can do better than what Empire was. And that's what I'm thinking this should be, because this trilogy to me is very important to Miles Morales. It's very important to thrusting him into the forefront and where he needs to be. Especially if Sony decides to take back Peter Parker, you know what I'm saying, and loan Marvel Miles Morales with Secret Wars and we know Battle World and stuff, you know what I'm saying, coming up. That this is something that I want to see him become a household name, just like Peter Parker is.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that for sure. I agree with you that for me, I do get tired of the comparisons. And I think I get tired of the comparisons because nobody ever fully lives up to it. You know, I can understand why it's kind of the gold standard, and everybody certainly wants to compare themselves certainly to that. And I also understand what you mean by the idea of like, don't necessarily just try and make a Empire Strikes Back movie, but definitely make a much better one. But man, I feel like that's just an uphill battle in and of itself, because like I almost feel like it's very difficult to certainly go ahead and do that. So I'm in agreement with you. I definitely want this to succeed. But for me, when I listen to this, for me, it's one of those things. I kind of trust Christopher Miller here. Again, I know a lot of people certainly say that, but I think for me, based off of how successful the first movie was and how some people now kind of rate Into the Spider-Verse as like their favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, I think that does say something really important about not only how impactful Miles Morales Spider-Man is, but just how enjoyable I think this storyline is, and just the potential that it certainly has to be bigger and better than the first one. So I think carrying that momentum that they had from the first film, I think they can certainly do bigger and much better things with the second one. I think if the trailer is any indication as to what this movie is going to be, the introduction of brand new worlds, brand new characters, they definitely are going to be doing a lot of world building in this upcoming sequel. So that certainly matches that of The Empire Strikes Back, along with the brand new characters. But for me, again, I'll go back to the conversation of Miles and his mother sort of on that rooftop. It just feels different than what we got in Into the Spider-Verse. He's much older now. It just almost feels like it's a warning or like a foreshadowing as to what we're going to see Miles get himself into. And I do think it's going to be a pretty interesting predicament. It is one of those things like when he says the ending will leave you having to come back and see Spider-Man, beyond the Spider-Verse, the third part. I've been championing this for the longest time. I need Miles to become live action at some point in time. So there's a part of me that's hoping that this one ends literally with Miles being thrusted into a live action world, and it just ends that way. And we're like, what is going on? So we have to certainly come back and check it out for the third time, or maybe even meeting Tom Holland in animation form, I think would be pretty cool also. If they wanted to go ahead and end it off that way before maybe giving us him in live action in the third one. Guys, I still think live action is happening. I just feel like Lord and Miller are that creative that if there's anybody that can finally bring Miles Morales to the live action world, it's them. And so when you tell me, hey, this is going to be our Empire Strikes Back, I think that's the kind of big move that would certainly help solidify this film being the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. But yeah, what do you guys think? Any chance of that happening?
If it does, I want that to be like the final scene that we get in that movie is like him thrust into a new universe that he doesn't know like where it's at or anything like that. And he looks around and at first it's like all blurry, but then as he like slowly his vision kind of comes back to normal, it goes from like looking slightly animated to suddenly he's in the real world and he looks like at his hands first and then looks around him and it's like what? And then that's when we get like we cut away from the POV shot and we see him in live action. That's how I hope they do it if they go that route.
Get Tom Holland going. Are you a Peter?
Are you okay? Are you yeah. Are you a Peter? Like yeah. I don't think so.
I messed up.
I would honestly love to see that. So we'll see what happens, but I think they're certainly saying all the right things. I am fascinated to see how much this character has certainly grown since the last time that we've seen him, because he definitely doesn't seem like he definitely has aged up since the last film. So it should be interesting to see how everything goes when it comes to that. But outside of the Empire sort of comparisons, Shameik Moore, who voices Miles Morales, is back in the news as he's talking not only up the upcoming Across the Spider-Verse, but his intention on hopefully playing this character in live action. Listen, I'll be honest, this is something that I think a lot of fans probably wanted maybe like 5-7 years ago. When they first maybe started doing some voice work for Miles Morales, but he still plans on wanting to be a live action version of Miles Morales. So let's go ahead and dive into this real quick, and we'll see if this makes any sense to some of us. But this comes to us once again from Empire Magazine. Will Shameik Moore ever play Spider-Man in live action? Everyone knows I would be a great Miles Morales, is what he says. So homeboy saying this with confidence. It says, let's see here, but with Peter Parker dominating the live action movie based on the character, Miles is yet to appear in the flesh on screen. That hasn't stopped the MCU movies teasing him, from Homecoming casting Donald Glover as Miles' uncle Aaron in a brief role, to a gag from Jamie Foxx's Electro in No Way Home about there surely being a black Spider-Man somewhere out there in the multiverse. This is what Shameik Moore says. He says, I was at the premiere of No Way Home and everyone looked at me on that line. He says, I got a lot of tweets. He says, while Moore is continuing to voice Morales in the 2 animated sequels, Marvel fans are still waiting to see a live action version of Miles, whom Moore bears a striking resemblance to. He says, I feel like everyone knows I would be a great live action Miles Morales. As I left the theater after that premiere, Jamie Foxx looked at me like he knew. I think Tom Holland knows too. One of the biggest factors, how long Sony and the MCU waits before choosing to introduce Miles. It just depends on how old they want Miles to be by the time they're ready to do a live action movie. That's a conundrum with whether or not I end up playing him. So that's what Shameik Moore says. So he definitely even understands the issue here of clearly there being some age hindrance. Somebody look up how old Shameik Moore is. One of the things that I wanted to look up also that I looked up earlier was how old Miles Morales is in the PS5 video game. And I think they said he was like 17 years old, because I thought the animated character looked significantly older. And I thought to myself, well, look, if they wanted to get Shameik Moore, maybe they just like age him up or something like that. So maybe the concept of him coming in at 17 years old, let's just throw that out the window, okay? If Miles Morales, when he becomes live action and he's 17 years old, Indy, I'm going to start with you. Shameik Moore, cast or too old for the role?
He's not too old for the role. He's only 27. If you think of like Clueless and the wannabe black girl from Clueless, whatever her name is, Dash, she was significantly older in the role she's played. We had this done all the time where people play roles older than what they're supposed to be. Bring It On, Mean Girls, you know what I'm saying? And they're playing high schoolers. I don't think there's an issue per se in that fact, because I believe he could pull off a younger character. Come on, Adam. You know, black don't crack. You
Black
know what I'm
don't
saying?
crack.
I can guarantee I don't look 40 years old, but I'm 40 years old. So I believe it can be pulled off. You know what I'm saying? Tom Holland is how old? What is he, like 25 or something like
Something
that?
like that, yeah.
And, you know, he's playing a friggin' 17, 18, you know what I'm saying, year old kid, you know, and he looks like a 30-year-old man. You know what I'm saying? When he gets scruffy and stuff like that. So it's definitely doable, but this is something that I want them to pull the trigger on, because as soon as this kid goes, and look at me, I'm 40 and I'm calling somebody a kid that's younger than me. As soon as this kid gets to the point where he goes and he starts to do other stuff, or he starts to do stuff that's closer to his age, the problem is going to be having the viewer be able to believe him at that when he's playing roles that are significantly older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. Like, had they decided to cast him like right after his time in Dope, you know, like when he was already playing sort of like that a high schooler kid that around that time age, then maybe, you know, maybe that'd be a little bit more acceptable for some people. But I'm kind of in agreement with you. Like when I look at Shameik Moore, and I look at some of his photos and just like his smile and the way he presents himself, I'm just like thinking to myself, like, man, he's still got that baby face about him, even though he's like in his late 20s, almost pushing 30. But I would agree with you. I do think if that is something that they want to do, you got to pull the trigger now. Like, don't wait for this man to continue to get older and older, even though I do think that he could probably pull off a 17-year-old in high school still relatively well. I just think he's got that type of face. I think he could certainly, he's still got that young face despite his age. So I do think that he can pull it off. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if Shameik Moore is, while I don't have a number one option, I don't necessarily know if Shameik Moore would be my number one option as of right now. Because kind of similar with Marcelino is kind of saying here, Shameik Moore is good, but I'd rather have someone a little bit younger to play him. I think doing him live action only works if he plays an alternate older version of the main character. You know, look, my thing is, if they were to cast Shameik Moore, I wouldn't have any problem with it. I don't necessarily know if he's any longer my number one choice, though. If they decided they wanted to go a younger route, I can honestly understand that and would certainly be open to that idea. But I do think Shameik Moore still certainly looks young enough to be able to pull this off. So I would be open to it, though.
Stuart, just nod your head if you're with me on this. Lucas from Stranger Things.
Ooh.
You
yeah, honestly, I could see that. Yeah.
You know, he's 21, you know what I'm saying? He's only a couple of years younger. But then like I said, it's because of the role he was playing, you know what I'm saying, as a teenager, as a high schooler, just makes it easier to believe, you know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is they're only 4 years apart.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, that's why I said I don't necessarily, while I wouldn't mind Shameik Moore playing the role, I'm definitely would be open to other actors if they were to find something a little bit younger and more appealing for that particular role. But what about you, Stuart? You hear this from Shameik Moore. I mean, you know, was this at one point in time sort of like a given for you, like your number one option in regards to playing him, or you've never really seen him in that role, sort of how he's kind of presenting things?
So when he was first cast as Miles, I thought he was perfect, especially because I really liked him in the movie Dope, and I thought he would have been perfect for Miles Morales. Looking at him now, like Indy was saying, there are plenty of movies where you get people in their late 20s, even early 30s, sometimes playing high schoolers. So it's not like this is like a very uncommon thing. Even though it's not as common, it was something that used to happen all the time in the 90s. But even now, you still got shows like Euphoria, which does the same thing. So I don't think necessarily he's too old to play Miles Morales. I just don't think it's going to happen just because it doesn't happen as often. So personally, for me, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the role, but I just don't think think it's going to happen because knowing Sony, they probably want to cast someone younger so they can like basically have the character age along with the actual like actor, which is something you wouldn't really be able to do if you casted Shameik, because with him kind of already being an adult, you're not really going to see him age if they were to continue his movies going forward. Pretty much, he's going to look very much like similar throughout all of them. And I think like, yeah, one thing that movies tend to like to do now whenever they have like a franchise anyways, is they like casting kids that are still aging. So that way you can have the kids age along with their characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think you also want to be able to make sure you have them for a certain amount of time too.
Mhm.
Like, hey, we want to be able to have you for like 6 or 7 movies that we can cast you in, and you continue to look that age, or at least, like you said, kind of grow up sort of into that role. We kind of look at Tom Holland now that, yes, while he is 25 right now and Shameik is 27, the leg up that Tom Holland certainly has is he's been playing this character for like the past 5, 6 years already, right? So he came much earlier into this role than Shameik certainly ever will get that opportunity to do so. Nathan says Sony will cast someone Puerto Rican and black as the character is. I would hope that they would find a good mix like that in order to represent, but who knows if they're going to be able to nail that right on the head or not. I'm sure there's plenty of people in New York. Find somebody from the Bronx, man, that wants to go ahead and actually, I'm sure they probably could find somebody if they truly wanted to.
I'm still waiting on Sony. I need you to do this for me, especially if you're doing a live action Miles Morales. Have one of the scenes where you have like the Joe Button podcast, talking about, what I'm saying, Miles Morales flying around and saving the city, or have a Jay-Z cameo or something like that. Like really bring
somebody from New York out.
Really bring the hip hop element, what I'm saying, into Miles Morales, because I feel like that's something that is being left out of, what I'm saying, the core of who he is, rather than just the soundtrack.
Yeah, but say, yeah, I would totally love to see that, especially if, as somebody like myself coming out of New York, would love to see that NY representation a little bbit more. And then we also got ourselves some exclusive images here. Get an opportunity to see. I guess this is Spider-Man 2099's Vulture. Seeing Miguel O'Hara taking on one of their version of the Vulture. And then we've got ourselves another one here of Spot, it looks like, with a couple other characters in here. I kind of dig this idea of Spot opening up this portal as Gwen Stacy kicks through it, and then her foot comes out the other side and kicks Miles. I think that's pretty cool. And I don't know who this other Spider-Man is to the far left. I'm kind of digging his design though. But it looks like that might be a brand new character that we kind of get introduced to also in here. So they definitely are not playing around when it comes to the different art styles that this movie is certainly going to be showcasing us. But I'm looking forward to it, man. But regardless of whoever plays certainly Miles Morales, I do think the idea of bringing him into live action is certainly going to happen. So we'll see if that happens in Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, or somewhere else down the line. But let us know your thoughts, guys. When you hear Christopher Miller talking about this being the Empire Strikes Back, based off of some of the trailers that you've seen so far, are you kind of in agreement that at least this has that potential to be that? And if they were to make Miles Morales live action, who would you certainly cast? Shameik Moore certainly thinks you should cast him, but I definitely want to know if you guys have any suggestions as well. So let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. Marcelino also says Caleb McLaughlin said he would like to play Static Shock, but maybe Miles will change his mind. I think that's the kid from Stranger Things, isn't it?
Yeah, he's been campaigning to play Static Shock, but if you get a chance to play a Spider-Man, let alone, what I'm saying, Miles Morales, who is just as prominent and as important as, what I'm saying, Static is, do you turn that down to wait on Static Shock, or do you just go? To me, I would play Miles Morales so well that they have to cast me a Static Shock.
Oh, also, huh?
Yeah.
I like it. Talk about being secure in a job for like the rest of your life.
Then you get the best of both worlds. Hey, I was in Marvel and DC.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Blossom says this animation and those pics, G.O. Jody. Yeah, just imagine waiting to see it on the big screen. So yeah, I'm pumped for it as well, Blossom. He's my absolute favorite. Had a crush on Richie Gere as a kid, saying Static is her favorite. All right, Indy, you have to head on out.
Yeah. My pop showed up to take me to lunch. Didn't know it was happening.
Nice,
So
nice little surprise birthday lunch. Enjoy yourselves,
yeah,
man.
we see what's going on. Appreciate y'all. Love you guys. We'll be back to see you soon.
Will you be back next weekend, you think?
I'm just for you guys because I love the A pluses so much. I switched my work schedule. I'm Monday through Friday now, so I'm off every Saturday, Sunday. So I'm here every Sunday now.
Yeah. Got the band back together.
You already know
Awesome,
what it
Indy. It's
is.
good seeing you, Indy.
Marcelino, I answered your comments, bro. Go check it out.
All right, man. We'll talk to
See
you
ya.
later. Have a good one.
See ya.
All right. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, Stuart. We're going to go ahead and transition over from Marvel to some DC talk. Is, this next story, I don't want to say this is a surprise, Stuart. I think some of us were certainly expecting this when it was announced that James Gunn was going to be writing Superman Legacy. I feel like there have been teases ever since that announcement as to who's going to be the director for this film, right? James Gunn mentioned the idea that at one point in time he wasn't directing it. We also heard his co-CEO, Peter Safran, almost pleading for James Gunn to kind of direct it. A couple other people also kind of hinting at the idea of this happening. But we were just kind of sitting back, waiting patiently for the announcement as to whoever the director was going to be. And lo and behold, Stuart, this might come as a surprise to everybody, but it seems as though our new director is going to be James Gunn. James Gunn comes full circle once again. James Gunn is set to go ahead and direct Superman Legacy. So it looks like he finally caved at the pressure from everybody around him to certainly do this. It says Superman Legacy will be the first big screen feature of the Gunn Safran era. Warner Brothers has projected the date for its release for July 11th of 2025. And it was widely expected he would direct, though it was unclear given his duties overseeing the expanded DC slate. This is what Peter Safran told the reporters about the Superman movie. He says, it focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in the world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned. On Wednesday, James Gunn explained that he hesitated to take on a Superman movie, even though he was offered the character, but ultimately taking on the Suicide Squad movie for Warner's. He said, I initially said no because I didn't have a way in that felt unique and fun and emotional that gave Superman the dignity he deserved. Then, a bit less than a year ago, I saw a way in many ways, centering around Superman's heritage, how both his aristocratic Kryptonian parents and his Kansas farmer parents inform who he is and the choices he makes. After deciding to write, he was hesitant to direct. James Gunn explained, just because I write something doesn't mean I feel it in my bones, visually and emotionally, enough to spend over 2 years directing it, especially not something of this magnitude. But the long and short of it is, I love this script, and I'm incredibly excited as we begin this journey. So yeah, he finally gives us some insight, which I always appreciate from James Gunn, honestly, giving us a little bit of insight in regards to his decision making here. So Stuart, let me start off with you here. What are your thoughts on James Gunn getting ready to direct Superman Legacy? Does anything he say worry you or reassure you? And what do you feel about this choice? Is this something you saw coming?
Did I see it coming? Mostly. I was pretty sure the moment he said he was writing the movie that he was going to be directing it too. Especially when you kind of like look back at a lot of his older interviews. One of the things that he does bring up is how back when he used to be just a writer and he didn't direct much, he would oftentimes find himself, a bit disappointed with the way the movies would turn out. He would say that I wrote one thing, but the way it came out on screen was a lot different. So it doesn't surprise me that with his take, especially if it's a script that he's very passionate about, that this would be something that he would want to direct as well. So not too surprising. As for my excitement level, cautiously optimistic. And I say that even though I love James Gunn. I don't think I've seen a James Gunn movie I didn't like. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I wasn't the biggest fan of. But besides that, everything he's done so far, I think has been amazing, especially when he's given full creative control. But that said, I still haven't seen him direct like just a straightforward, serious movie. And I feel like, when you're doing a Superman movie, not saying there shouldn't be comedy, obviously there's definitely going to be comedy in this movie, but it's not going to be a comedy movie. There's going to be, there's a big difference between the movie with comedy and the movie that's just a comedy. And I don't think he would direct a Superman movie if it was going to be a comedy. So it's just going to be interesting for me to see what a James Gunn movie is going to look like when he's outside his comfort zone, basically. And this is why I say I'm cautiously optimistic, because I haven't seen anything like this from him before, but I'm optimistic because he seems to be taking the project very seriously. So I am pretty sure, even though this is something new from him, it is going to be something quite enjoyable and really well done. So yeah, I think those are overall my thoughts.
Yeah, I would probably really agree with you in the sense of I think cautiously optimistic is a great way to certainly put it. Because I'm like you, I think out of all the James Gunn movies that I have seen, the weakest was probably Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I certainly wasn't that big of a fan of it, but I enjoy his form of filmmaking. I walked away even watching something as small as his Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special and just kind of amazed as to just how he can balance it out with such like humor, but yet emotion and just a sentimental value, being able to capture Christmas spirit. I think he did a really great job in doing that when it comes to the holiday special. So, if anything, I'm also really eager to see what he does with Guardians 3. I think the success of Guardians 3 will either well, if it is successful, I think people are either going to be really behind the idea of James Gunn directing Superman and Legacy, or they're just going to be very worried. Either way, so I do think a lot is riding on the success of Guardians of the Galaxy. But if anything, Stuart, I think kind of what you were mentioning too. It's really going to come down to balance for me, because you're right. I haven't necessarily seen James Gunn do sort of like a straightforward film like that. But it seems as though he's going to be dealing with some pretty heavy emotions. I mean, the idea of Clark Kent having to contemplate maybe some choices in his life that he has to make based off of the teachings not only from his farm parents but also his Kryptonian heritage as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of introspective moments here for Superman that I think James Gunn can really sink his teeth into. And at the same time, I'm trying to figure out where that humor is going to come from. Is it going to be lighthearted humor? Is it going to be over the top? I hope we don't have a dance off for the universe at the end of the Superman legacy battle type of thing, right? Like there's sometimes James Gunn could just go off the rails, but I do think he personally probably understands the everything that's really relying on this movie to be successful. I mean, if we take a step back, I mean, you're literally launching this movie for the new DCU. If this movie does terribly, that almost kind of eliminates the rest of what you're trying to certainly accomplish. And so they certainly need this movie to be quite successful. And I think James Gunn certainly understands that. But I think where the trust comes in is just hearing how much he absolutely loves the script. I think because of the fact that he thinks that he's stumbled onto something that's gold, I do think if there's anybody that can kind of bring that to life, it probably is James Gunn. So, I'm not gonna push back against anybody that feels hesitant, because I feel like there were some people are like, man, I don't know how he would do when it comes to a Superman movie. Trust me, I get it. And if there is hesitancy, I totally understand. But I think for me, considering that he originally said no, but then found a way, and how passionate he is about the script, I think James Gunn can certainly pull it off. So cautiously optimistic, but I'm in agreement with you right there, Stuart.
I will have to make a correction to this comment. He actually didn't direct
He
that
didn't
movie.
direct
He
that.
only
Yeah.
produced it. But his brother was the one who I believe wrote the movie.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of Brightburn. I was kind of surprised that he attached his name to the movie, honestly. But I think if anything, I mean, the people that made the movie, I think he was pretty close to. So I think I almost felt like, let me just rub my name on this movie for you guys. Maybe help give you guys some clout, and hopefully bring some butts into the seat. But I didn't really care for Brightburn, honestly.
Yeah.
Nathan says Superman movie cannot be anything like Guardians, and I totally agree with you. I don't necessarily know if it can be. I am interested to see if he introduces the wider world of aliens within the DCU. I think that's something that James Gunn is certainly capable of. I think he's handled the cosmic side of the MCU really well. So him introducing aliens and monsters for the DCU feels very natural. But you're right, a Guardians movie it should not be set up the same way that a Superman movie is. But the way that he's approaching it based off of the script and the way that he talks, I think he understands that though, Stuart, right? I don't think he's going to keep that same sentiment from one movie to the next.
Mm.
Yeah, so I do expect him to bring something new and different to what he does with James Gunn winning. What did you think about his stuff when it comes to the Suicide Squad movie?
I loved the Suicide Squad movie, and while it had a lot of dramatic moments, I would still say it kind of falls more in line with the comedy aspect of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians,
But
right?
that being said, I think that just from looking at Suicide Squad, if he wanted to kind of go in that similar direction when it comes to the more dramatic roles, I think that's a great way to do it. You just got to make sure like the dramatic parts aren't over. Sorry, you just got to make sure the comedic parts don't overweight the dramatic parts like they did in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because I do think that Suicide Squad did have some great dramatic moments, some great action pieces also in there as well. So again, I think it's all really going to come down to balance. But we'll see. You guys let us know. James Gunn set to direct Superman Legacy. Did you guys see this coming? Is this a surprise? Are you worried? Do you like what James Gunn is certainly saying here? Does it give you some confidence? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts. And were you going to say something else, Stuart?
Yeah, this literally just occurred to me right now. I think the thing I'm most looking forward to about this movie now might actually be the soundtrack. I'm very curious what kind of music James Gunn has in mind when he's writing his Superman script, because that's one thing he knows how to do when it comes to directing films is he knows music really well.
Yeah, he really does touch some great soundtrack music to his movies. But all right, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And from there, Stuart, we will move away from Marvel and DC and get into more of a movie and television news for you guys. So let's go ahead and dive into this next article, our next topic. And rest in peace, Jason David Frank, as we move on to some Power Ranger, well, not Power Ranger content, but in that particular world. It's been several months since the passing of JDF, but Jason David Frank's last project, Legends of the White Dragon, is in fact back in the news. This movie is in fact still set to go ahead and release this year, but there are some big changes that are certainly coming when it comes to this film, and that's specifically in the realm of a theatrical release. I don't necessarily know if this was their original plan or if it's something that they decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on after the passing of JDF. But this Kickstarter sort of film has truly blown up into something a lot more magnificent than I think it was initially planned to certainly be. But I found this rather interesting. So I wanted to go ahead and dive into this article with you, Stuart, because I think we were both big fans and supporters of JDF. And I think the idea of being able to see maybe some of his final work on the big screen, I think is pretty intriguing. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. This comes to us from Deadline. Late Power Ranger star Jason David Frank's final film, Legends of the White Dragon, sets a fall release date. So we are getting this film in theaters. It says this is an exclusive Bat in the Sun Productions and Bascule Productions have set a North American theatrical release for the late Power Rangers star Jason David Frank's final film, Legend of the White Dragon. Picks release will coincide with what would have been the 50th birthday of the actor and martial artist who tragically died of suicide in November of 2022, aged 49. So he was actually supposed to turn 50 this year. It says Scott Kennedy's Falling Forward films will release it exclusively in theaters across the top 25 markets this fall. It says the fantastical action director Aaron Schoenke and I'm probably butchering their last name. It says follows Eric Reed, aka White Dragon, who, after being a fugitive on the run for 3 years, has returned to the city he fought to protect. He must now clear his name and save the family he keeps in secret before the mysterious Dragon Prime unleashes his own revenge. So this film, it says, we are proud to have worked with such a talented actor, and we are grateful for the opportunity to share his final performance with the world. Having been on this journey with Jason for 10 years, I know he would be beyond excited to know that Legends of the White Dragon will be opening in theaters. He added, despite the tremendous loss, the production team has worked tirelessly to complete the film and ensure that it meets the high standards that Jason set for himself. The result is a powerful and moving tribute to his talent and dedication. Um, so yeah. It looks like they have in fact set this for a release date for his birthday for this upcoming year. When is his birthday? They didn't put a release date in here, Stuart. You know when JDF's birthday is? If you can look that up for me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't put a release date in this article. But regardless, so let's talk about this. First off, I am surprised that I just realized this says it will release it exclusively in theaters.
May 29th.
It's his birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, so is that when they plan on releasing it? It says it will coincide with what would have been his 50th birthday. Okay, so man, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Like 2 months away. Wow, that's crazy.
It's like literally a month and 10 days after Power Rangers, the Netflix special.
The Netflix special. Oh man, okay. So yeah, I am surprised that it says it will release it exclusively in theaters across the top 25 markets this fall. I'm personally not expecting a super wide release for this. If anything, I would not be surprised if it's literally just like limited theaters or whatever the case may be. It says top 25 markets, so there's a part of me that's keeping my fingers crossed. I got to think DFW, Dallas Fort Worth area is up there, even if it's like 2 theaters, maybe 3 theaters in the Metroplex area. I think that would be great. I have no idea how many showings they're going to have, so hopefully they'll clarify this a little bit more. But I would definitely love to see this on the big screen. From the trailers that I've seen visually, special effects wise, it looks pretty good, especially off my phone. So I would love to see what that looks like, certainly on a big screen. I am kind of curious though when it comes to the Kickstarter element of things. I'm hoping that the people that did at least purchase this or at least put their money towards it are getting some sort of extra exclusives, in the sense that maybe they get like an early showing of it. Maybe they get the actual digital download of this film before it's released. I don't necessarily know if the people that put money towards this, signed off on the idea of it being released theatrically when they probably thought, hey, this is something he was doing for me. But hopefully they are getting some sort of great kickback for the money that they certainly invested in putting this film together, especially considering it is now going to be in theaters. Maybe they took some of that money to purchase this exclusive reveal out in theaters. So I am kind of surprised that this is now exclusively in theaters. I thought this was something that might be eventually released online. And if there is any other thing that I will say, Stuart, two things. One, I am kind of curious if this truly was JDF's wish to see this on the big screen. I'm certainly hoping that it definitely was, and then hoping that this isn't just an easy money grab, because thinking like, hey, now that JDF has passed, maybe we can financially make some extra money off of this. I hope that's not the route that they're going. Like, if anything, I personally would like to know where that money is going. Is this money going towards the salaries of the people that they put this movie together? Is this money being like donated to a charity of JDF's, liking or whatever the case may be. I am kind of curious who's getting the money from this and what's being done with the money from this, especially considering the fact that you're attaching JDF's name from it. Is his estate going to get a cut of what this movie certainly makes? So if there is any questions that I have, Stuart, it is in that regards as to who signed off on this and who's getting the money from JDF's name being on this film. Again, because I don't know if this was even his initial intention. However, they certainly want to market it. But regardless, I definitely would love to see this film. And if the money's going to be going to a good cause and making sure that it's going to the right people, I definitely will be in the crowd to certainly see this on the big screen, because I don't think it's been forever since I've seen JDF on the big screen since Power Rangers, since I was a kid. So I think it'd be pretty cool to kind of see what JDF is capable of doing in his last film here on the big screen. So I'm definitely down for this, and I'm glad that they're pulling the trigger. But we'll see how limited it certainly is. But so when you hear this, Stuart, what's your level of anticipation for this, and anything you're weary about? Are you pumped for this?
I'm completely pumped for this. I think they've always wanted this movie to be a theatrical release, but I feel like JDF's passing was kind of what pushed like studios to kind of like decide, okay, this is something that might be marketable. And I really hope that doesn't come off as disrespectful, but like that is what I kind of think the studios had in mind. Is the idea is like JDF is now on people's minds because of his passing. Therefore, if we have a movie with his name on it, it's likely to do a lot more than it would have if he hadn't passed away. And again, that's not me trying to be disrespectful. That's me just thinking in the minds of studios, how studios tend to think when it comes to this type of marketing. But regardless, yeah, I am looking forward to seeing this on the big screen. I think that when I first saw the teaser before they even started filming, I wasn't too hyped for this movie, but I think looking at the, full length trailer that they've released, there's definitely a lot of heart and effort that was put into this. So even if it ends up not being a good movie, I'm still, I still see myself being satisfied that it was made, and I still see myself not leaving the theater disappointed. In fact, I think just the fact that they worked this hard to get it a theatrical release, I think is kind of amazing enough for me to really want to give this movie a chance. And hopefully, it's a movie I can convince my friends to go watch with me, because, again, I do hope this movie does really well. I think the money like that you were talking about, where it might go, the money that normally would have gone to JDF, I do think it'll go to the, his family or something like that. I don't see it just going to the producers for Bat in the Sun. I do see it kind of, being shared with his loved ones and things like that.
Yeah, I really hope so. And the only reason why I bring that up is just because of the recent antics on Twitter of the guy from Bat in the Sun, Aaron, I think, spewing all these like details about JDF, how he felt about the Power Ranger franchise and has been. It just felt really shady in the sense of like, I don't know if you should be putting that kind of content and material out there, for fans to kind of sink their teeth into, sort of thing, like just let things lie, and just, play itself out, sort of thing. So, when somebody starts kind of doing that at the benefit of JDF's name, it is one of those things that just kind of makes me wonder, like, what else are they trying to do off of his name? You know what I mean? This may not necessarily be the case. You're right, because they probably maybe had in mind of this being a theatrical release all along. But this is just me being protective. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to make sure, like, if you're putting this out there, you're not just doing it based off of his name, not trying to make an extra buck, that the money is certainly going to go where it definitely needs to go. But I'm in agreement with you. If there's anybody that I know that's a JDF fan, Jason David Frank fan, you're coming with me to the movie theaters to see this damn movie, to go ahead and showcase just our love and support for this guy in his last film. And listen, I for me too, it's one of those things, like, my expectation level for this film, it's not through the roof. It's just pretty mediocre, just based off of the idea of who I know is creating it, where it's coming from, sort of thing. Like, I'm excited for it, but it's not like, it's like if I were to go see Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, I'm not going in there expecting an Oscar performance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I know what I'm kind of getting. So when I go to the movies to see this, I'm just going to go to enjoy it and to see JDF and to see him put his best foot forward. And that's really all that I want at the end of the day, in his amazing martial artist action mixed in with the greatness that is Bat in the Sun and some of their production work. So it could be interesting. It could be a good one here.
Yeah.
But let us know your thoughts, guys. Now that you know that Legends of the White Dragon will be released exclusively in theaters, do you plan on checking it out now? If anything, Stuart, this almost feels like it's lined up for like a Fathom event. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, honestly, I could see it being that way. I don't see this being like a wide full release. I do see it being very limited, select theaters, and then probably like a 2-day event, kind of like what Fathom events tend to do.
And if anything, it's one of those things too. Like I completely missed out on Clerks 3. That was like a Kevin Smith tour. It feel like that movie came and went in theaters so quick. I didn't even know it was done filming at all. Like I had no idea. It just came and went. And I was just talking to my girlfriend the other day. I'm like, where's that Clerks 3 movie I've been waiting for? And it's like, oh, I missed it already. I didn't even know. Like I don't remember seeing a trailer for it or anything like that. So I'm hoping that this isn't that under the radar, but maybe you need to be in the know to know that this movie's actually hitting theaters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hope it's not that under the radar, but it is a huge possibility. But on the bright side, if it is, I think we follow enough people on Twitter that'll probably bring up the fact that it is playing in theaters. So I think we'll still hear about it, hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like us as a Power Ranger fan, and we tend to do more promoting and marketing than the actual projects tend to do. So I think we alone will certainly make people well known of this. But yeah, guys, let us know your levels of enthusiasm to go ahead and see JDF back in the theaters one more time. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. And with that out of the way, we will transition over to one of my favorite franchises to certainly talk about, and that is, in fact, Star Wars. Stuart, let's get into our Star Wars bag, shall we? As we're preparing ourselves for Star Wars Celebration here, that's going to be in London relatively soon. I think it might be this month or next month, Stuart. I can't remember when Star Wars Celebration certainly is, but I am expecting some amazing announcements to certainly come out of there, whether it be film or television stuff. I cannot wait to see what Kathleen Kennedy, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni have in store for us. But before we get into Star Wars Celebration, we are currently in the midst of The Mandalorian Season 3, which, mind you, we do reviews here on A Plus Hero Report every Thursday live at 1 p.m. Central Time. We review The Mandalorian for you guys. And good old Dave Filoni is back in the news this week, teasing us as to where all these Star Wars spin-off series could all potentially be leading, Stuart. I think this was something that was teased to us by Kathleen Kennedy maybe 2 or 3 years ago when she announced the slate of Star Wars television series. Something is a brewing, Stuart. They are definitely building to something big here. So let's go ahead and dive into this article. This comes to us from The Wrap. As Dave Filoni teases how the Star Wars spinoffs could all come together. He says a big event in this time period is very real. So when Dave Filoni speaks, Stuart, we listen, right? So let's go ahead and dive into it. This is a bit of an interview here. There's like 3 or 4 questions that certainly get talked about in here. He gets asked, going into Mandalorian season 3, what were key objectives for you? He also tackles how often are you thinking, how can I get my cartoon characters into live action? And then he also tackles this question. Kathleen Kennedy said in 2020 that the series would culminate in a climactic story event. But more recently, John had said The Mandalorian could go on forever. Are you building towards a climactic story event, or has that been put aside? And he says, well, from a certain point of view, haha, see what he did there? It could be. He says it could build to a cinematic thing, and The Mandalorian could still go on. It isn't necessarily either or, is it? It's an interesting way to think about it, he says. I tend to think as we've been working on The Mandalorian and then writing Ahsoka, and then John Watts came in with Skeleton Crew, there is an entire time period that is post Return of the Jedi. I look at that time period, which before The Force Awakens is around 30 years of time. When you look at the original trilogy, it is a much less significant amount of time that those 3 movies take place in. And so what I like is that we're really building very slowly an ecosystem of characters and politics and events in the post Return of the Jedi time period. And that may or may not expand in a bigger way as we add more shows to it and add more characters to it. The good thing is that we're all talking creatively together about where these stories are all going. And I love whiteboards. And I whiteboard everything and have timelines. They always start back with the Phantom Menace and they always go out to the Rise of Skywalker. I have all these slots in between where everybody's doing everything so I can look at it all and commiserate with Kathy on what's going on here, what's going on there. It's very fun. I think that the reality of there being a big event in this time period is very real, is all I would say to that. But yes, if John wanted to keep making the Mandalorian stories, as long as he does not get bumped off and said a Titanic event, then they, I suppose, could continue. There doesn't seem to be any lack of interest in Grogu and Mandu. That's for sure. So he's definitely teasing a big event here, Stuart. And he talks about his whiteboard and his timeline and how they're doing certainly their best to keep things together. I think that should be certainly reassuring to a lot of fans here. But when you hear this from Dave Filoni yourself, Stuart, what are your thoughts on the idea of a possible big event happening?
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, the fact that you had, I mean, I still don't know if Rangers of the New Republic is still happening or not, but the fact that they were planning for it to happen means that you have 4 TV shows basically that are all taking place within this time period, and all of them seem to be hinting at something kind of big, especially with the Mandalorian and that Ahsoka appearance where she, appears to be looking for Admiral Thrawn. It really does feel like there's almost like they're almost going to be redoing the Thrawn trilogy from the original expanded universe, but doing it with this different cast of characters, basically, instead of relying on the OGs, doing it with the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, possibly Boba Fett, and then whoever the new Rangers of the New Republic are going to be. So yeah, I do think this is extremely exciting. And I think like what he kind of means when he says like the Mandalorian story could keep going even after this is, you look at the Marvel movies, for example, you still had Iron Man 3, happen after the events of Avengers. Avengers wasn't,
Mm.
the end game for everything. And I think in that same way, you're going to have this big climactic battle that's going to involve the Mandalorian. But I think his story can continue after that. They can take back Mandalore, they can defeat Thrawn, but there's still going to be more stories to be told for the Mandalorian, so long as the audience is interested, and so long as Dave Filoni and why am I forgetting his name?
Jon
John
Favreau?
Favreau. Yeah, as long as the two of them have stories to write about the Mandalorian.
Yeah, because for all we know, Mando could survive whatever big climactic event happens, right? And then once that wraps up, he goes back on to another journey, him and
Mhm.
Grogu, or maybe they're separated now. Who knows? So yeah, the stories can definitely end unless, one of them gets knocked off, as Dave Filoni says, which I highly doubt is going to happen anytime soon here. What I will say is, look, first off, I love the fact that he has a timeline. That homeboy has a whiteboard. I feel like he's got a traveling whiteboard wherever he goes, that whenever he sits down for a meeting, he just goes flap and it just comes out and he's got everything just ready to go. I love a man that's prepared and knows what he's talking about. And Lord knows when it comes to Lucasfilm, we need people like that to keep things not only in line, but to make sure that creatively we're not stepping on other people's toes. That's why I think him, John Favreau, and Pablo Hidalgo are probably like the 3 most important people at Lucasfilm right now that are really trying to do their best to keep this ship steady. So I love the idea that they're keeping everything in mind as to what's going on. And Dave Filoni continues to echo what I've mentioned over a brief period of time, is that 30 years in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. There's so much time period to definitely be talked about. I mean, he mentions what A New Hope to Return of the Jedi is probably expands what, like 5 years, 6 years, maybe a little. I can't remember, but that's not a lot of time when you think about the concept of 30 years that we still have in order to film things. But I kind of like big culminating events. It feels like something leading up to a Battle of Yavin, a Battle of Andor, a Battle of Jeddah. These big events that we get in history from the Star Wars lore I think is really, really, really pivotal. So the idea of seeing what they're building in here when it comes to Mandalore, Ahsoka, the Skeleton Crew, right? Could we be building up to another battle or a big event that takes place during the Star Wars timeline? I find that really fascinating that they have this huge sandbox to kind of play with and create these big pivotal moments in the Star Wars universe that once they wrap up, you can still build upon that if you want to 5-10 years even further down the road if they want to. So I love these connective tissue pieces, and I love that we have people like this that are making sure that everything is certainly staying connected and certainly all working together. The idea of them talking to each other to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Where were you when we needed you when it comes to the original, the Disney sequel trilogy? So it does feel like Lucasfilm is at least doing their best to try and learn from their past mistakes. But you definitely have great people like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to really shepherd that in. And Dave Filoni's whiteboard might be the MVP of 2023 going forward. So we'll see how things turn out. But I love the sound of this, Stuart. I truly do. I'm super pumped for what they might have planned for us.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like Disney made a really dumb mistake by not planning beforehand when they did the sequel trilogy. But I am glad to see them making up for it now with a lot of the things that they have going forward. It's like they have a lot of plans, but they're also being seemingly they're being very flexible with these plans. So if some things don't go the way they were originally planning on it, it's flexible enough for them to make adjustments here and there. But yeah, I am overall just glad that this is all continuing that they're continuing to learn from their mistakes and they're continuing to improve on what they have, and I really look forward to seeing what this all builds up to.
Yeah, me too. And I think even seeing this past episode of The Mandalorian this week, the idea of cloning still being a pretty big topic that they're discussing here, right? That the Empire clearly wants to steal back some of their cloning technology, make sure it's not in the hands of the New Republic. It definitely seems as though that's a thread that continues not only through Mandalorian, but might play a bigger role when we get down the line, whether that be Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew. Who knows where it's going to pop back up, right? Like I think when I did my review, I teased the idea that when I think of cloning, I think of like Snoke, I think of Emperor Palpatine, I think of the potential of what they might have been planning to do in season 1, which was what clone Grogu possibly. So I do think there's a ton of potential in that at least playing a role also in whatever a big climactic event certainly could be leading to. So a lot of potential there, man. But I love that Dave Filoni is shepherding all this.
Yeah, and honestly, they could probably, if they wanted to, fix the biggest issues I had with the Rise of Skywalker, because you have suddenly Palpatine coming out of nowhere with like this giant army all ready to go, and the only way I could think that they could make up for that is if that's what that cloning thing with the Doctor from the previous Mandalorian episode was building to, like if his work ended up getting taken by what was eventually going to become the First Order or the Empire. If that was all done like under the radar and it was all done through cloning, it's like, okay, I could almost, I could accept that a lot more than how much I could accept it when we're watching The Rise of Skywalker. You know what I mean? So hopefully they could use that as an opportunity to fix a lot of the issues of the sequel trilogy.
Wouldn't that be trippy? And if, like, in 20 years, we look back at the sequel trilogy from Disney and we think to ourselves, thank God for Dave Filoni for, like, having, like, putting so many projects in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So, like, what if they literally make his Emperor Palpatine story digestible and acceptable? And then when we actually go back and we rewatch it, it's like, it all makes sense now. Like, wouldn't that be crazy if they're like, Dave, we need you to save our sequel trilogy by filling in this 30-year gap. Please do something.
See, that would be awesome, and it's not the first time he's done something like that, because looking at the prequel trilogies, I feel like more people appreciated them after the Clone Wars,
Clone Wars.
after more context was added, after they made Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship something that people really enjoyed seeing, and something where it's like it made it more sad when Anakin betrayed Obi-Wan.
Man, that'd be crazy if Dave Filoni can save the sequel trilogy. Hopefully I'm around to see it when, eventually we come back 20 years later and they welcome, the cast from The Rise of Skywalker on stage and everybody gives them a standing ovation, welcomes everybody with open arms once again, right? All thanks to Dave Filoni filling in those blanks that we really needed. Yeah, man, we'll see if he could pull it off. But yeah, a lot of exciting things, I think, at least from the Star Wars spinoffs, certainly headed our way, guys. But let us know your thoughts when you hear Dave Filoni speak this way about what they possibly have planned. Does that give you hope that Star Wars is moving in the right direction? Do you trust this man? As a lot of us, I think, certainly do. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, and we'll definitely continue that conversation.
Oh, this might explain why the most recent Mandalorian episode felt very different. In fact, so I haven't seen your review of it yet, but I've noticed that literally 3 different reviewers that I watched have all made the joke of, all right, now we continue on with Andor chapter 19. So I'm curious, did you make that joke too?
I mean, I wonder if so I did make an Andor reference in my video, yes. I do wonder if it has a lot to do with the pacing. The pacing was much slower than I think I personally am used to when it comes to a Mando episode. It works really well for Andor, but I don't necessarily think it worked that incredibly well for this. But it definitely took its time. Its pacing was rather slow. It definitely felt like a political drama, if you will, in regards to the idea of the importance of cloning and whatnot. I just didn't care for the pacing and the performances, honestly. If there was any attribute to the Andor that I would compare, not only just the pacing, but probably in regards to what, like, one of the jobs that they have the character in this episode doing, felt very reminiscent to that of Andor, in the sense of what the Empire has Andor and their prisoners kind of doing, but just from like a different ideology standpoint. I don't want to ruin the episode for you. I want you to check it out for yourself. So I'm trying to be as vague as possible. But it does feel much more political drama-esque than anything at times in this episode. There's some cool Mando and Bo-Katan stuff in here too that I was a big fan of, but the second part of this story was a little bit too slow for me personally. I think I graded it like a what did I give it? Like a 7.5 or something, or a 7, so probably like a C. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I got to check out your review now because I actually really enjoyed it. I liked that we got to see kind of that.
Oh, so you did see the episode?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love the style of like the way they told the story because it was very similar to Andor, but I like that it was about the New Republic and like just I like the idea of like how much the New Republic is struggling because it feels like everyone's been so used to being like controlled by the Empire that trying to take that away is kind of a challenge. And so there are elements of the New Republic that still feel very similar to the Empire, especially like with the fact that the even though they're quote unquote pardoned, all their ex Empire soldiers and scientists still are given numbers instead of names, things like that. I thought were pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that's where my comparison comes into. It's the idea of like, even though you want to call it a readjustment program or whatever they considered it, you're still making them do mindless work, right? Sitting at a computer, just doing the same thing over and over again, like you would a prisoner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely doing the same thing that the Empire did, but maybe because you're New Republic, you want to put a nicer bow on it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a lesser of the two evils, but they share very much the same ideologies. Just I don't know. I dug the comparison though. I dug being able to see that from a New Republic's point of view. And as much as they want to put whipped cream and a cherry on top to make you feel better about it, it still very much feels the same thing to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did find that pretty appealing because at the end of the day, these Imperial officers, I mean, they're really not going to do anything with their life. It feels like, right? Like you're really reducing them to not being able to do anything, and you might as well be prisoners is what it feels like. So I find that pretty interesting,
and it fits very well into what we already know about the kind of post Empire from the what are they called, the Aftermath novels. It fit very much in line with those.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a New Republic trying to find its way now, and it's definitely struggling to definitely do that. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. We love our Star Wars talk around here, ladies and gentlemen. So we could be here for hours. But let us know your thoughts on what Dave Filoni said about Star Wars in the comment section box below. But yeah, Stuart, that's probably one of the reasons why I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of it. For me, it was the pacing and performances really just didn't really sit too well for me, but I definitely had pros and reasons that I certainly did enjoy the episode for. So if you get a chance, definitely go ahead and check out the review.
Awesome.
And with that, guys, let's move on to our next topic, Stuart, shall we? Look, I'm gonna be honest. This next one, I did not expect this announcement to come this weekend whatsoever. I have seen this movie maybe once in my life. And then after that, I've just seen a bunch of clips, quotes. I mean, over the years, I mean, it has become like a part of our pop culture, it feels like, over the years, if you grew up during this particular time period. But Good Burger is back. Keenan and Kel, baby, are in fact back, Stuart. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? Is back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and dive into this. If you thought I'm going to wake up Sunday afternoon and talk to Adam about a Good Burger sequel, I would have thought you were crazy. But according to Hollywood Reporter, guys, it is set at Paramount Plus, baby. Keenan and Kel are in fact returning for the Good Burger sequel. They actually made this announcement on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. I won't show the announcement, but if you guys get the opportunity to go ahead and go online and check it out for yourself, please do. But it says Good Burger 2, a sequel to the iconic 90s film, has been greenlit at Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon Studios. Kenan Thompson, who played Dexter Reed, and Kel Mitchell, who starred as the original cashier Ed, announced the news on The Tonight Show. He says, I can't believe it's been a little over 25 years since great customer service was born at Good Burger. Being a part of something so many generations of people have come to love has made me so proud. And now to be back where it all began, working on the sequel, is surreal. With Thompson and Mitchell reprising their roles, the movie will follow them as they reunite in the present day at a fast food restaurant, Good Burger, with a new group of employees. Phil Trail, the middle Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Single Drunk Female, will direct the film. And you've got Kevin Koplow and Heath Seifert from All That and Good Burger serving as writers and executive producers. Yo, I'm so glad that they're coming back to do this. That's so cool. He says, Ed is one of those timeless characters that has brought so much joy and laughter to the fans. And it's such a beautiful blessing to still be doing it after all these years, is what Kel Mitchell said. It's super awesome to come back and continue the stories of Dex, Ed, and Good Burger for both the people who grew up watching and their kids. We're shooting this summer, and it should be out this year, probably Thanksgiving-ish or something like that. If that gives you any indication as to what the production value of this is going to be. We're going to film next month, and it'll be out by Thanksgiving. Like, yeah, there's no special effects happening here. So, look, I would just say the first thing that comes to mind for me, I'll just say, look, me and the girlfriend watch Kenan on Saturday Night Live every weekend. I think Good Burger is like the top echelon of Kel Mitchell's career. I don't know what else Kel has done in his career outside of Ed as Good Burger, but it's lasted this guy a lifetime, to be honest with you, in regards to stardom. So I'm so glad that he's coming back to reprise this role. Again, this was something that I literally watched one time, and then just growing up over the years, it was just such a big part of pop culture. You just can't escape Good Burger. I think everybody knows the welcoming line from Ed from Good Burger like the back of their hand, for sure. So, I just remember growing up as a kid watching Kenan and Kel and All That. I used to love that show on Nickelodeon growing up as a kid. So to be able to see just how a skit from so many years ago has lasted literally the test of time, and now we're going to be getting this movie 25 years after it's created, is just honestly blows my mind. But it just shows you just the enjoyment that certainly was Good Burger. So I'm glad that they're getting the writers to certainly come back to do this film. And yeah, I'm sure they're going to put their best foot forward. When he says the idea of them coming back to a fast food restaurant, Stuart, like the old guys now with the new guys, for some reason I get Clerk vibes in my head, of like Clerks 2 in my head. So it's going to be interesting to see just where these characters have come all these years. Especially Ed. I definitely want to know what he's been up to there in this time period. I got to think he's like store manager now, right? Or do you still think he's working the front counter? What do you think, Stuart?
Oh man, If I had to predict, I imagine he's still working that front counter. Maybe Dexter is now the manager, or maybe he's moved on, but like something brings, because to me, even though Dexter was struggling at school, he felt like someone with a lot more potential than fast food in his life. So I feel like there's got to be a good explanation of why he's suddenly back working at Good Burger with Ed. Oh man. So I'm excited for this movie. So for me, I had the original Good Burger movie on VHS, and I watched. That was one of those movies I used to watch so much that I'm sure that if I were to put it into a VCR now, it would be so scratched up you could barely see what was going on. Yeah, I can kind of see the Clerks 2 kind of vibe that you're talking about. We got the older people still working their job as just a cashier and everything, but then we'll probably have like a younger cast in there too, so that if they really want to, they could even do like a passing the torch type of thing. I don't think that's what they're gonna do, but they could if they wanted to. But yeah, like hearing this announcement, excited. I'm not expecting this to be an amazing movie or anything. I just hope this gives me a couple of good laughs. And yeah, I think you're right with the production, with them mentioning, oh yeah, this is going to be shot next month and it'll probably be out this same year. Yeah, I'm not expecting a big budget. In fact, it may even look cheaper than the first movie with that kind of a filming schedule. But yeah, I gotta be honest. At the risk of getting canceled, back when I was in Boy Scouts, we used to do like skits and everything. So there was one year I basically just wrote a Good Burger skit, and we just basically did a full Good Burger skit for like one of our years of a Boy Scout camp, and it got the most amount of laughs. And we had the best punchline ever because basically, we had the commissary where we would eat every morning and every night. So we ended it with the punchline of someone being like, and the food here sucks. And then the ending was it was Ed being like, but you gotta admit. And then everyone looks at the audience and we go, it's better than commissary food.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Yeah, that's not going to get you canceled, Stuart. The only way it would get you canceled is if you did that whole performance in blackface. And
Definitely
I
did not.
I think you're good, bro. But that's hilarious. That's so cool to learn that you pulled off something like that. That's pretty funny. But yeah, so I don't know what I'm expecting from it, honestly. But yeah, as long as I can get some good laughter out of it, that's really all that I'm going to ask for. Johnny's pretty excited. He says, yes, I'm so excited for Good Burger 2, and I doubt Good Burger 2 will be cheap. This was in the works for a while, and I can't wait to see Keenan and Kel returning for Good Burger 2. Yeah, they did mention the idea of how they have been trying to get this movie off the ground for quite some time. So it's finally happening here. Yeah, I'm excited to see these two together again, man. I always loved them as a creative duo. So we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, guys, let us know your levels of anticipation for the Good Burger sequel.
The first time I remember like them originally like kind of playing with the idea of a Good Burger sequel was on an SNL cold open opening monologue where they had the actor that played Michael in The Office, the main guy from The Office, forgot his name, Steve Carell. Yeah, so Steve Carell, and basically the joke is he was too lazy to come up with a monologue, so he was doing like a Q&A, but it was obviously a scripted Q&A. So everyone in the audience kept asking him, so when are you guys rebooting The Office? And then finally you get Kenan Thompson being like, so about that Office reboot, and he's like, I'm not rebooting The Office. I mean, an Office reboot would be like a Good Burger reboot. And then you have Kenan Thompson being like, I would love to do a Good Burger reboot.
Yeah, no reboots, man. Just give us sequels. I think that's even more fun, honestly, is to see them as older men in that line of work. So I'm really fascinated.
Oh yeah.
Blossom says those two never cease to make me laugh. Yeah, most definitely. I agree. All right, guys. With that out of the way, though, we will go ahead and move on to our final topic. Actually, before we get to that last topic, I do want to bring up Marcelino says, going back to the Mandalorian talk, he said also like the Mandalorian chapter 19. Also, 7.5 for your case, Adam, is too generous. I see a C grade as a 5 or a 6. Stuart, let's have this talk, buddy. Marcelino sees a C as a grade of a 5 or 6. Didn't we literally just talk about the idea? Like, when did a B plus literally equate to like a failed grade? If we were to take that same category, right, that same mentality, a B plus technically would probably be what, like a 7?
I think. Oh man, I gotta look it up again because I
That's
don't
brutal.
remember. I know that for the school grading system, a 7 would be a C, and then an
Right.
80 would be like a B, and then
A
90s would
B.
be an A, and then 50, anything 50 or below was an F.
See, so the idea of me being too generous by giving a C, which is technically what, like, I guess that would be like a 75%. That might be too generous. I might go with a C minus. Who certainly knows for that episode? But to equate a C to like a grade of 50 or a 60, that's an F in my regards, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it just shows just how grading systems, how people view grading systems. But I think that also is almost in terms of how we grade today. I feel like it's so off. Like, you telling me a B plus movie in like Shazam Fury of the Gods deserves to get like shit and trashed on and like looked at as like a 7? Like, nah, I don't see it that way though.
To me, I always thought the grading system in schools were weird because to me, I always felt like as long as you're doing half the work, that deserves at least a C. And I say that as an adult who kind of, at work, I never go above and beyond. I do just the minimum effort to make sure I can get
Then
my
you're
paycheck. I don't get fired.
you're a C employee. You're a C
Yeah.
employee.
And to
Yeah.
me, I think that I deserve a 50% if someone's going to grade me. But of course, that's not accurate because a 50% would have been an F. And I don't see myself as a failure. I see myself as a guy just getting by at work. So I always thought the grading system was weird anyway. So I can see Marcelino's point in that, yes, a 5 should be a C, but objectively it isn't because that's just
Right.
not how grading systems work.
Yeah, no, I get you. So you're pretty much like the Sony Pictures of school, is what you're saying. That's
I
what it
guess
comes
so.
to students. Okay, just coasting. I get you.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I definitely go school grading system when we grade around here. So if there's a movie in the 70s, that's anywhere from a C minus to a C to a C plus. A failure for me is like when I get to 6, that's a D for me immediately. Like, you're done. That's a failure for me. 5 is definitely an F for sure. So yeah. No, I thought I hit it right on the head personally for me. It just felt like it was an episode that kind of coasted with some good highlights. Book needs improvement. So that's why I think I gave it a C. C minus. So yeah. But yeah, we're all gonna grade our stuff a little bit differently. I'm just waiting for the day, Stuart, when we do have that animation here for A Plus Hero Report, where we can just boom stamp a grade onto our reviews. I would love opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah, I said I was going to work on something like that, but I still haven't, so I need to. Like I can do it with Adobe Premiere Pro. It's just not going to look as good as if I had Adobe Animation, which I could get. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. I'll shut up.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. And then we got one last topic we're gonna go ahead and knock out here for you guys as we get back into the world of movies. Did my thing not post the way that I wanted it to? Nope. But look, the Little Mermaid, Stuart, is back in the news this week. We wind up getting ourselves an exclusive look here from Empire Magazine, getting our shot of Ariel here, along with them dropping an actual Little Mermaid trailer that was accompanying the Oscars earlier this Sunday. If you missed the Oscars, they did drop this live during the airing. You can check it out on YouTube if you'd like to. I think 6 or 7 days in, Stuart, this trailer is just under 10 million views. I think it's like 9.7 million views right now. So definitely bringing in some anticipation and views in regards to it. But we didn't get the opportunity to do an individual video about our thoughts on this particular trailer. So I definitely wanted us to go ahead and tackle this. I'm hoping you've had the opportunity to check it out for yourself. I watched it maybe like 2 or 3 times. I watched it once with the girlfriend as well. Let's talk about this particular film, though, real quick. This movie is going to be dropping later on this year during the summertime. But when you had the opportunity to check this out, Stuart, what were your thoughts in regards to the Little Mermaid trailer?
I think overall more positive than negative. But I do have one really big issue with this. And I am not a fan of the animation when it comes to a lot of the fishes. It seems to be like they're trying to go somewhere between the photo real and a little bit cartoonish, and I think they just don't look good because of it. I do really like the production when it comes to like outside the ocean. Some of the shots we get there, I love a lot of the shots that we get of the actual ship, especially like during the storm itself. And then a lot of the undersea scenes actually look really good when it's just focusing on Ariel, and the one shot we get of her dad I think looks really really cool. So overall, like, I think everything except for that one thing, it looks good about the movie. I just don't really like the fish, or in the terms of the crab. I don't really like the fish or crab designs in this. I think I wish they would have just gone full on cartoonish and just didn't even bother trying to make them look like real fish at all, and just had them look like cartoons. I think that would have looked a lot better. But yeah, I also get why they did it that way, because it worked out for them really well with Lion King. That made them like over $1 billion. So it makes sense that they would want to try to recapture what was a success at one point. But yeah, for me, it just doesn't look that good in that area. But I think everything else about it, I'm looking forward to. I think the actress they got playing Ariel looks like she's going to be doing a pretty good job. And again, I do think that even though I'm not a fan of the fish design, I do think it looks pretty well filmed in every other area.
I am kind of curious. They probably should have called up James Cameron and was like, "Hey, bro, whatever technology you're using for underwater, we need that. We need that on this movie." Because I would agree with you. I do think maybe some of the fish design, some of the underwater scenes could probably use a little bit work visually. But there are other moments that I look at it and I'm like, okay, it looks looks pretty good in that regards. I do think the characters look great. I would totally agree with you, especially in regards to Ariel's father. There are some cool underwater shots of her swimming. There's one, I think, maybe when she's performing where like the crabs open up and they got like the little legs that are like highlighted around her. I think she's swimming with some dolphins. So some really cool, really breathtaking shots in here. This movie I think is going to make $1 billion. I do already. I could just see people going to the theaters and just singing along and just revisiting their childhood by checking out this film on the big screen, if you will. But honestly, the trailer itself didn't really do much for me in regards to like really move me to being like, yes, I gotta see this in theaters. The trailer for me was just okay. It was all right. A cool introduction. I'm glad to see that we at least got to see more of like the world above Prince, the Prince Eric and things like that. So especially Ariel with legs as a human and stuff, right? So they definitely are tapping into all that. So yeah, I would agree that the world above the ocean definitely looks not only better, but I am a lot more intrigued in how they're going to tackle that aspect. And I would agree with Mikey here. Melissa McCarthy, I think, looks great as Ursula. I think if there's anything that really jumped out at me in this trailer, it definitely is her, along with the special effects for like her magic and things like that. So I do think she's going to do an incredible job in here. So I think honestly, I think for me, Melissa McCarthy as Ursula was definitely the standout. The King, I think, was actually pretty impressive also. And just hearing Haley Bailey's voice, I think was really awesome too. I think she's definitely going to bring a wonderful sound to all the songs that we have in here, and just melt the hearts of people that go ahead and check out this film. So again, while the trailer didn't do too much for me personally, I just walked away like, okay, it's going to be a good film. I still think that this movie is going to make $1 billion, though, honestly. But that's just me. So we'll see how it goes, guys. But I definitely want to know your thoughts. Mikey says he thinks The Jungle Book and Cinderella are the best live action movies. Cinderella, I know, has gotten a lot of praise since this time. It's been a minute since I've seen The Jungle Book, but yeah, what Jon Favreau was able to do in there, pretty impressive. And I was actually a big fan of Aladdin, also. Maybe not some of the performances, but I was a big fan of that film also.
I think looking at the live action Disney movies, not counting Maleficent because I think that's different enough, so I don't have to really call that one a remake. But I think the Jungle Book probably would be my favorite out of all of them.
Hmm. No, I can definitely understand why. Um, but yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. If you had the opportunity to check out the Little Mermaid trailer, what were some of your thoughts? Did it blow you away? Are you highly anticipating this movie now? Has the trailer done its job of hyping you up? Or regardless how you feel about the trailer, do you still plan on checking this out? Go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Marcelino says, "Do you think Melissa McCarthy as Ursula will restore her reputation in Hollywood because she's been in a lot of bad movies and she looks more as a joke than as an actress?" It could be. I do think this could be a really good performance for her. I think she's going to be able to tap into something we haven't seen from Melissa McCarthy in a really long time. So I do think she'll be back on her game in this one. What about you though, Stuart? What do you think?
I didn't even know her reputation was destroyed in Hollywood. I thought, like, she was looked at as a joke, but that's because
Yeah,
she
it's a
wants to
joke.
be.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Uh-huh.
she does mostly comedies, but she had a serious role, like back in like 2019 or something, where she played like a crime boss. And I didn't watch the movie itself, but I saw like bits and pieces of it, and it looks like she did a really good job in that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that one before, but I think I know what you're talking about though. And a quick side note, Mikey says, "Hey, Adam saw Shazam, gave it a 5. The Rock ruined the Shazam franchise. Oh, that's a shame.
I'll
That's a
say
shame."
this: the irony about Dwayne Johnson not wanting Black Adam to face off against Shazam. He's like, "Oh no, my character is too mature for Shazam, and it wouldn't fit." But looking at Shazam 2 and comparing it to Black Adam, I'll say this: Shazam 2 was a much more mature movie than Black Adam.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, he just moved the goalpost, man. I was like, bro, I thought we were gonna get Shazam versus Black Adam, and now you're pushing Black Adam versus Superman. It's like, man, you got your priorities wrong, bro. Priorities
Yeah,
wrong.
and then on
Um,
top of that, so there was also like this interview or this thing from a panel that keeps like I don't know. It's weird because they're trying to make Zachary Levi look bad because it's like edited to make it look like he's
yeah, I
cursing
saw
at a
that.
fan and telling a fan it's just a movie, but in
I was
actuality,
there.
yeah. Oh, you were?
I was there. We actually have well, so we have Dallas Fan Expo Dallas is where that interview came from last year, or maybe it might have been the year before. I believe we actually have highlights from that panel on our YouTube page, and we could probably find it in our Fan Expo Dallas highlight playlist that we have.
Oh,
But
sick.
we do have the Zachary Levi panel that was clipped out. I don't know if they clipped it out from, they didn't clip it out from our particular video, but we do have highlights from that panel. And I think somewhere I might have the full panel somewhere. Maybe I'll put that on Patreon for people made available or something like that. But go ahead, continue your thoughts.
But yeah, they try to make it look like he's telling a fan that it's just a movie, but in actuality, what he's talking about is someone like asked him, "Hey, who would win in a fight between you and The Rock?" And he was like saying that The Rock didn't want them to face off because he's like, "Oh, Black Adam I would totally beat Zachary Levi in a fight," and he's like, "It's a movie, dude. This is fantasy. We both play comic book characters. We're not actually talking about who would win in the fight between us, like in reality."
Yeah, and he said, what are you saying? He says, yeah, and even if we did fight in real life, Dwayne Johnson would probably kick my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but because he was just saying he's like he gets a chuckle out of it when people ask him that kind of question. Sometimes he's like, it's just a movie, man. It's just a
yeah.
movie. It's not real life. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I definitely want to see the film, man. I definitely want to check it out for myself. So hopefully I'll get the opportunity to see Shazam in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Like I said, I
Um,
thought it was a really fun movie.
I'll definitely check it out, man. All right, guys. With that out of the way, Stuart, I think you know what time it is, man.
It is time for live viewer questions. Questions. Oh, that's not the live viewer questions logo. There it is. I was like trying to do it with this hand and then I was like realizing, oh shit, how do I click on the mouse? And then I used my other hand, but then I accidentally moved the mouse up. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into your guys' live viewer questions today. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. If you guys ever want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question, usually Wednesdays or any day after Wednesday, we usually will go ahead and post a live viewer question. Simply go over to our YouTube page, click on that community tab. And scroll down, and you'll usually see a live viewer question post. Once that's up and running, feel free to submit your questions over at any time. Excuse me, and we'll definitely do our best to answer as many of these as we possibly can. Sometimes, if we can't get to all of your questions, we will be doing a separate video that usually will drop either Monday or Tuesday for you guys that answers the remainder of your questions. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. Let's see what you guys are talking about today.
It's funny. Last night, like right before I went to bed, I think it was like pretty late too. There were like 2 questions. So I'm like, oh, I guess this is going to be a very short live viewer question segment. Then I went to look at it right before we went live and it was at 22. And I'm like, oh, never mind.
Never, bro. Never. Blossom says, so stoked for MMPR's anniversary. Did you know Ron Wasserman is going to be back to do the music for it? The Rangers returning would totally rock, especially the boys. I mean, Adam and Billy returning. Holy macaroni. Are the timelines for MMPR and the movie from 1995 different? I'm asking because I thought about our Imaginatrix Rangers imagine themselves back there as Kimberly tells them the story. Kimberly is Zachary's Wright's counterpart's cousin. Oh, interesting. I think they're in the same timeline, right, Stuart? The
No,
95
the
movie
movie is like in a separate universe. And I think it had to do with production wise. The studio wasn't allowing them to use stuff from the movie or something. I don't remember exactly how it was, but I do know that it is separate because they get their ninja powers in the movie, but then later in season 3 we see them get their ninja powers and it's done in a very completely different way. So yeah.
Let's see here. All right. And then she also asked, did you know Ron Wasserman is going to be back for the music? Yeah, I heard about that. I believe it's only for Once and Always, though. Am I right?
Yeah, so not for Cosmic Fury, but regardless, I'm excited. I'm wondering if he's just going to be doing a cover of the original Mighty Morphin theme song, or if there's going to be, or other original soundtracks to this movie or to this like special. But I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it for sure. Let's see here. Who's next? We got Abase. Since the announcement that James Gunn and Peter Safran are rebooting the DCU, does this make all past films, both huge hits and failures, as well as the directors, writers, and actors, feel like all of their hard work were for nothing? Proving to all the negative people that MCU fans that DCU always had no idea what they were doing from the beginning. Basically, a giant middle finger to the non-toxic DC fans. I don't think so. Because I think despite the changes that are happening, James Gunn has been very vocal about the idea that not everything is changing. Some things are changing. And I would also even argue that this reboot isn't even necessarily such a fresh reboot, whereas I think you could probably literally, Stuart, watch Man of Steel, watch the Zack Snyder trilogy, jump into Flashpoint, and it still be connected, and it still make all the sense in the world. You know what I mean? So I don't think James Gunn is doing this per se in the sense that, hey, what came before isn't connected. And I think that also speaks to the bigger term of just comic books in general. There may be new crises and different things that are kind of erased, but I think what if I learned anything from DC is that even things that happened way back in Crisis on Infinite Earths still matter to the current multiverse and how things certainly still play itself out, right? Like they still go back and discuss moments that happened in comic books in the past and how it's relevant certainly till today. So I think DC is in such an interesting position where while I do look at it sort of as a reboot, it's not a fresh and absolutely clean reboot. So I think all those movies certainly still matter. And thus, all the hard work that everybody put into creating things. All of that matters, I think, at the end of the day, Stuart. But how do you view that? Am I tripping?
Before I answer that, I just got to say I love how he puts James Gunn in the other guy. Kind of
And the other
reminds
guy.
me of like with Robot Chicken. No one ever says Seth Green and Michael. People just say Seth Green and the other guy.
And the other guy, yeah.
But yeah, as for the question, I don't think it makes any of, even if this was like a complete reboot, like from scratch and everything, I still wouldn't say that it's a waste of time from like all the hard work that the other creators put into it, because none of them, made their movie with the expectation that it would build to something bigger. Most of them just made their movie because they wanted to make a good movie. Looking at, both Wonder Woman movies, both Shazam movies, Aquaman, none of those movies really built to anything in the DC universe. They build to things like within their own franchise. So I wouldn't say it was that they wasted their time with it. They made their movie their way. And I think that's like that's like all they could have asked for, honestly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And they got paid. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
I think I think at the end of the day, I think they are certainly more than fine. But no, I think it still matters. I think it still matters. Mikey does say personally, DC needs a full reboot, but I wouldn't mind a multiverse universe. And I think it would just, for me, it really comes down to how James Gunn navigates all this stuff. If he can really come up with a creative plan to navigate his new DCU while still incorporating new, but yet maybe some old from time to time. I think we could be on something really interesting. Like for me, like Stuart, I'll just toss out this idea here. We don't know where Gal Gadot is as Wonder Woman, right? He seems like he's very much opened the door for Gal Gadot to certainly return if she wants to. But people are like, well, where are you going to put her? Where are you going to put her? I don't, there's nothing on your slate that shows Wonder Woman. So, it's not going to happen. Gal Gadot's out of here. I think there's a world that we live in where we can still bring Gal Gadot over, have something happen within Flashpoint or this Flash movie that changes things. And if we do want to take influences from, say, the comic book, as James Gunn seemingly loves to do these days, right? Like he tells you where he's getting his influences from. There's a very recent Wonder Woman title that kind of puts Wonder Woman very much in like this god realm or this god sphere, I think they might call it. Almost like she's like living in an afterlife after a big crisis sort of event happens, and she's got to maneuver her way to get back to sort of the real world. And when she does, Wonder Woman is now, I don't remember, I can't remember if they have her like as God mode officially now, but by that time or not. But the same thing could easily happen with Gal Gadot if they wanted to. Just because we don't see her in DCU, who's to say Paradise Lost isn't necessarily like a journey of Diana going through the past of what Themyscira certainly was. And maybe if she comes out on it the other end, maybe we have Wonder Woman, Diana as one of these omnipresent beings, right? Like there are certain characters in the DCU that hold on to their memories still. I think when you look at something like a DC Apocalypse War from the animated series, I think it's not only the Flash that remembers, but I think Shazam is in that company. I think Shazam welcomes him or might be able to remember. So there are certain things that I think some people could easily remember what the past universe was like, but because of who they are character wise, maybe they hold on to some of those remnants. I think Shazam is one of those because he's technically a god, and I think something like Wonder Woman could easily hold on to those type of memories and certainly be brought back to reprise their roles. Maybe I'm tripping, Stuart. You think I'm onto something, or it's possible it can happen?
No, you're 100% on it, because that's stuff that they've done in the comic books too. I mean, the whole thing with DC Rebirth was them continuing the New 52, but with some characters now having their memories back from the universe that came before. That was the whole thing about bringing Wally West back, is that he would be the connective tissue between OG Earth 1 and New 52. So you could easily do that with something going into James Gunn's DC universe. For me personally, if I were doing it, this is how I would do it. We have the Amanda Waller TV show coming out, which will be coming out after Flashpoint. So what I would do is I'd have Amanda Waller be that connective tissue, have her be the one who remembers the Snyderverse, who remembers the DCEU. And so therefore she's the one that's like familiar with that universe and getting to know this new universe. So she could be kind of like us as the audience, learning about this new universe while having all the knowledge of the previous one.
Yeah, Amanda Waller is definitely a good option there also. Because everybody loves them some Viola Davis. She's been like the linchpin of this freaking DCU so far, like the most concrete thing that we've had throughout the entirety. So we'll see what how that turns out. But yeah, a lot of potential. I think they could do certainly a lot of things going forward. But we got to give James Gunn the opportunity to. You know, I think way too many people shit on this man. He hasn't even done anything yet. He's like, bro, I literally just said yes to a job.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, you fired Henry Cavill. No, I just didn't
What?
hire him.
Yeah, I just didn't hire the guy. Nicole Robertson. What's up, Nicole? She says, what do you think of Zendaya reflecting on how Spider-Man No Way Home paid tribute to Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy? Where Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker saved MJ from the same fate. Looking back, did you expect Andrew's Peter to be the one to save MJ or Tom Holland? And just so she did go ahead and give us a link. I'm trying to see if in an interview, Zendaya discussed the moment where her character is saved by Peter 3. He says Andrew's Peter Parker gets to help save someone else's love, which is huge for him because it's something he must deal with every single day. When you lose someone that you love, you feel like it was your fault. It is a huge burden to bear. She called this scene a really sweet moment. It's just a really sweet moment because MJ doesn't know what happened. She just knows that he just saved her. So she's like, thank you. He's crying and she's like, are you okay? Even though she's the one that just fell from the building. And then she also touched on the strong relationship that each of the Spider-Man actors have. They said they were so lovely and so thoughtful about their respective Spider-Men because they care about their characters too. They care about their Peters and their different stories. Yeah, you know, for me, well, you know, it's funny, Stuart, when we, you know, when the trailer came out, I think we were all trying to decipher it, right? And we're like, oh, snap, MJ's fallen. It's just like Gwen Stacy. And we're all looking at it, right? Because there's a shot where you can see like the hand trying to reach out for MJ. And we're all deciphering the glove. Like, whose glove is that? Oh my God. Is that Andrew Garfield's glove? Is that Tom Holland's glove? I mean, we're just nerded out. You know what I'm saying? Looking at using binoculars, zooming in 23 times to try and see the pattern. And so, yeah, so, you know, some of us thought it was Tom Holland. Some of us thought it was Andrew Garfield. So I don't want to say I was surprised when it definitely happened because I think we certainly talked about it, who was going to have that moment. But it was such a perfect moment, if you ask me. I think they really did make the best decision there in allowing Andrew's Peter to be the one to save her. But what do you think about what she had to say and your thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, I saw it coming too, but because of how well it was executed, I didn't care. But yeah, I think I remember that because I think I remember all of us kind of predicting. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Andrew Garfield that saves her in order to have that kind of redemption moment for himself, that internal redemption, I guess you could say. I think that's what we were all predicting, and we ended up being correct. But nonetheless, predictability isn't always a bad thing, and in this case, I think it worked out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I might have been one of the oddballs out. Like, I think that's Tom Holland's, guys. I think that's Tom Holland's hand. I might have been the only guy to believe that. But no, it was a great moment, and the fact that that Peter's crying, it doesn't really. It's just you don't need words, right? Like if you've been following the franchise, if you know, you know, And I think it went a long way. Dino Knights. When Billy does appear in Cosmic Fury, what do you think if he does? What do you think when he does show up to help the Rangers figure out how to defeat Lord Zed? Hold on, let me start this over. When Billy does appear in Cosmic Fury, what do you think if when he does show up to help the Rangers figure out how to defeat Lord Zed, what if he goes through the Ranger database and brings back Serpentera? We know we last saw Serpentera get destroyed along with the remaining generals of the Machine Empire and Forever Red. This could help defeat Lord Zed since we all know that MMPR Season 2, that Serpentera was so huge compared to any Megazord. Yeah, it was ginormous. that it destroyed an entire planet during Power Transfer two-parter? If so, having Serpentera back would also bring closure to fans, considering Cole somehow destroyed it with his Wild Force Rider motorcycle, which fans felt using a bike to destroy a massive Zord to be a cop-out, thanks to Disney using it as a way to pay for the filming of Forever Red. Thoughts? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Stuart.
Oh, I was just gonna say there is a Zord in Q Ranger that looks like it could be like a redesign of Serpentera if they wanted to go that direction. So I could see them pretty easily like using Serpentera, but using it, as one of their swords and not as Lord Zed's evil sword,
Oh, interesting.
using his own weapon against him.
Oh, that would be pretty incredible, honestly. I don't even remember. I didn't even know that there was a Zord like that in Q Ranger. So I'm glad you brought that to my attention, man. I might have to try and find it now. Let's see here. What's the next question? Who we got after that? Marcelino, pick and choose. Okay, so we got to pick and choose. I don't necessarily want to do the Mary Sue, Gary Stu stuff. When it comes to situations like Hartley Sawyer, who played the elongated man from The Flash, and Gina Carano, where the actor was fired for making tweets that were seen as controversial, there are normally people who stopped watching the show because they support said actor and they believe they were treated unfairly by the company. In other words, they say they were victims of cancel culture. You guys never seem to fall into that category and normally still continue and support the show. Or if you decide to stop watching the show, it's usually for different reasons. But what's your breaking point? What does it take for you to discontinue watching the show because you hated how the company treated the actor and you believe they were wrongfully fired?
It's a good question. I don't honestly, unless like I know, I think like a lot of times if it's a show I really like, I won't necessarily stop watching it if they do something that, if like behind the scenes they do something that really pisses me off. I think what'll happen is I just straight up won't support it. So I won't like buy any of I won't buy it on DVD. I won't get any merchandise for it. I'll try to probably just pirate it online. But I don't think I don't think I really go out of my way to stop watching a show because of some bad things that had gone on. I mean, if that were like the way I decided to look at it, I wouldn't be able to in good conscience watch Flash season 1 and 2 because of the showrunner for those 2 seasons.
Oh, who was that?
Can't remember his name, but a lot of sexual misconduct behind the scenes, which is why he was fired after season 2.
Oh, damn. I didn't even know any of that.
Yeah. Or same with that 70s show. I couldn't watch my favorite sitcom of all time, So I don't yeah.
I guess for me, my breaking point would be, it's interesting because I felt like I found myself in this situation with Kamen Rider Revice. But it was kind of the other way around. Instead of the show sort of holding somebody accountable, it very much became a sense of, it's okay. We're just going to turn a blind eye and not make anything of it. And it's one of the reasons, Stuart, why we didn't even review Kamen Rider Revice on A Plus More Phenomenal. The idea that one of the voice actors on there, was caught with blackface probably not too long ago.
So you say caught, but he wasn't hiding it.
Not
not
hiding it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, which is worse, is what I was about to say. The fact that he was openly like, oh, who cares,
Yeah, and the fact that nobody in the show ever addressed it, sort of thing, and it just felt like it's just adding and piling on top of the issues that we already have to face in society today, and I feel like even Japan themselves at times aren't necessarily, I don't want to say aware, but they don't necessarily seem to be affected, or I don't know. I don't know where the miscommunication is certainly coming from, in the sense of this is not a good look. You know what I mean? Because I do feel like they have a tendency of still doing that type of stuff regardless. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't watch Kamen Rider Revice. So I think for me, it's the case of when shows aren't holding people to a high standard and not holding people accountable and allowing them to sort of get away with that type of stuff, especially when it comes to race, especially for me as a black man. Like, That stuff definitely triggers me and bothers me. And but people will always pick and choose their fights, right? I mean, it bummed me out that I felt like I was the only person in the fandom that decided to not watch Kamen Rider Revice because of that issue. Yet there are so many other people in the fandom that continued to watch it. But yet, when it comes to Hasbro doing NFTs, fuck Power Rangers all of a sudden, right? Like, fuck that company over some fucking cryptocurrency type of stuff, you know? So people pick and choose their battles. But yeah, I think for me, my breaking point is when a show or a series doesn't hold people accountable and allows them to get away with bullshit,
I'll also
unfortunately.
say this too. So Hartley Sawyer, there I can see a lot of debate on whether or not he should have been fired. I think that unless there was other things going on other than what we as the public know about, I think that if I was the showrunner, I myself personally probably wouldn't have fired him. But that being said, there might have been more things going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about. As for Gina, though, here's the thing about like when she got fired, fair or not, it's like that whole thing of when you tell a kid not to talk during class and then they continue to talk during class and then they get all mad when you kick them out of the classroom. It's like uh you can't do that. You can't tag your company in a in like a really bad political tweet, basically. And that's what she did. She made a really bad political tweet that she then tagged Star
Her
Wars in.
employer.
So
Yeah, her
yeah,
employer.
she tagged her employer in it. And it's like, and this was after she had already gotten a bunch of warnings from Disney. So fair or not, she knew what she was doing was gonna get her fired. So it's like there's no way I can feel any sympathy. There's no way I can say that she was wrongly fired because she knew it was gonna get her fired. So
Yeah, and
that's just my opinion.
I am a guy that just believes in accountability, you know?
Yeah.
If that's what I will agree that sometimes cancel culture has certainly gotten out of hand, but I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong with holding people accountable for saying the most outlandish and dumbest shit in the world, that really affect millions of people and hurt millions of people. But I'm also one of those people that believes in not only holding people accountable, but also giving second chances.
Mhm.
And I do think after a certain amount of time, if a person has proven themselves, that hey, you know what you did was certainly wrong. It was stupid to say the shit that you did. Come back to reality. Like if you have a much better headspace than what you were in, then yeah, I think people like Hartley Sawyer should get second opportunities. I don't think these people should just be like canceled forever and not be able to find work, but be held accountable. And when you definitely have gotten your shit together, then we'll talk again and see if there's an opportunity for you out there somewhere. But sometimes it has gotten out of control. But I also will say I think people tend to put almost everything into cancel culture these days whenever something goes wrong or that type of stuff. And I just don't think it's the same thing.
I think
But
people react too fast,
yes,
rather than taking a deep breath to think about the situation.
yeah.
And I think that's just something that all. And I'm guilty of this too. This isn't me trying to blame
Oh yeah, we're
all the
not
internet.
perfect.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've made this mistake too of hearing about something and being like, "Oh fuck this person," type of a thing. My bad. I got to be careful not to swear now that we're monetized. But regardless, you know what I mean. Like, we all tend to react really fast, but we just got to be more careful, more cautious, and make sure that we, take a deep breath, think about what we actually want to say before saying it, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great advice for sure. Let's see here. Who else we got? Michael says, "What do you think of the new actor playing Lex Luthor in Superman and Lois series? And do you see him having a completely different personality than John Cryer's version in Superman in the Supergirl series? Plus, how do you think this will interact with Superman, like his relationships?" I will say this in regards to the actor, Michael. I have enjoyed some of the work that I have seen him in. I'm not too familiar with everything, but when he was in like The Walking Dead, I was really impressed with what he was capable of doing. So I do think he can give a really powerful version of Lex Luthor if he certainly wants to. And yeah, I definitely expect it to be significantly different than John Cryer's. John Cryer to me always kind of felt reminiscent to that of Gene Hackman a little bit, but with his own twist. So I am expecting Michael to definitely do his own twist on the Lex Luthor character.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm definitely expecting that too. I think they chose a really good actor for it. I'm very curious to see how he's going to do as Lex Luthor. But I think the showrunners definitely must have seen something in him. Loved him in The Walking Dead. Thought he was really good in Band. Shoot, was it Band of Brothers or The Pacific that he was in? I always get those two shows mixed up every
Mhm.
now and then. But regardless, he was in one of them and he was really good in it. So yeah, I have nothing but high hopes for his version of Lex Luthor. Plus, come on, that promo image, like we talked about it earlier, but he looks freaking sick in that image.
Oh
There,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He looks like he definitely trying to get Superman and his family into some dire trouble for sure. Let's see here. Stuart, he says, you know how in Power Rangers and I think Super Sentai as well, whenever we have a new series and team, when the Rangers get their powers for the first time, they always get the color that we all know from online announcements and why they never bother to swap or question that color. Hold on, wait, what? When the Rangers get their powers for the first time, they always get the color that we all know from online announcements and why they never bother to swap or question that color. I'm so glad that Power Ranger SPD was the first series with a blue Ranger Sky. He immediately reacted after morphing. I'm blue? I'm supposed to be the Red Ranger. Do you wish we had other seasons where Rangers themselves do question why they were chosen that specific color? I know the closest we got was Jake from Super Mega Force, but it was immediately ignored. I honestly would not mind seeing that a little bit more. I do find that pretty funny when they complain about their color set that they wind up coming up with. I honestly would like to see more of it though, Stuart. How about you? Or at least a
Yeah,
reaction to it.
more reaction for sure. In my fan script that I wrote for a Q Ranger adaptation, one idea I thought would have been hilarious is to make the Pink Ranger kind of a tomboy or goth girl who hates the color pink, especially because in Q Ranger the Pink Ranger is not only pink but she has like fairy wings as well, so it's like the girliest like kind of form you could possibly take as a Power Ranger. So I always thought that it would have been hilarious to have someone who's just very much not a girly girl basically transform into her and be really pissed off.
Yo, I love that idea. We haven't had a Black Ranger female, have we?
Um,
Maybe I'm
I
thinking,
don't
maybe
think so.
wait, RPM? No,
No,
no, that
it
was
was
Silver and
Dylan and yeah.
yeah. Um,
Huh.
have we had
No, I don't think we have.
no? I would love to see that at least for like a. Well, I think maybe Hyperforce, right? I think Black was Hyperforce.
Oh, yes. Let
Yeah,
me
I think
double check on
Hyperforce we had
that.
a Black Ranger, but yeah, I would love to see a female Black, especially if she was like Gotham, like a goth chick type. I think that'd be so cool, man.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty neat. But yeah, I would like to see more reactions to that, Stuart, personally. Gabriel says pick one. What are some concerns you still have about the MCU and the outgoing current DCU? Or while I enjoyed Multiverse of Madness, do you agree or disagree that it had too much fan service with different when it came to different Marvel characters, or was it enough? No Way Home used returning characters incredibly well, aside from Sandman and the Lizard. Which one would you like to answer?
Hmm.
The concerns
I
about
guess
MCU and the outgoing DCU, or the Multiverse of Madness?
I guess I'll answer the MCU and DCEU. I
Okay.
guess like my concerns about the MCU kind of going forward. I think I brought this up before, but I feels like Phase 4 they tried doing a little bit too much, and their special effects artists weren't able to keep up. I feel like the writing kind of went downhill at times. But I feel like that's an easy fix that they can do with Phase 5, and it looks like they're already working on fixing. As for outgoing and current DCEU, I guess my worry is when and I'll have to wait to see what it's all going to look like after Flashpoint, but is it going to be clear what is and what isn't canon, and how is James Gunn going to decide pick and choose what he wants to keep from the DCEU and what he wants to erase from it? What is that all going to look like going forward? I think those are my I think that's my biggest concern. Is there going to be, is it going to be a streamlined way to know what is canon to the DC universe going forward?
I get you. I get you. Um, should I answer the same question, Stuart, or do you want me to pick the other one?
Whatever you decide, man.
I'll I'll go with the second question. Do I agree or disagree that it had too much fan service? I do think it was a little bit too much fan service. I definitely do think No Way Home certainly handled it significantly better. But then again, No Way Home didn't have as many crazy ass characters as Multiverse of. Well, maybe they did. Shit. I mean, they did have quite a few characters. I'm not only thinking of Andrew along with Toby, but then I'm also got to think about the villains too. I mean, they literally brought like majority of the Sinister Six on board.
But
The
here's the
story.
big difference between
Okay.
the two of them.
Mhm.
No Way Home had all that fan service throughout the full feature, whereas Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness had all that fan service wrapped into one scene.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me, I definitely appreciated the execution to No Way Home much better than I did Multiverse of Madness. There are times it felt like it could be a little bit all over the place for me with Multiverse of Madness. It's just I don't know. I wish if they had. Then again, look, I've only seen Multiverse of Madness one time. I haven't gone back and revisited it. Maybe I would have a different different perspective on it, seeing it again for the second time. But I wasn't the biggest fan on how they were used. I wish that they were just utilized a little bit better and had more. I don't want to say reason to be there, but that it was just I just wish the execution was better, honestly.
Mhm.
Adam Perea. Clearly, MMPR was the first series of Power Rangers because it was pretty much monster of the day, standalone episodes kind of show compared to all the other seasons that came after that that actually had main storylines. What multi-part episodes would you recommend to people who have watched all other seasons except MMPR in order for them to understand the bigger picture of the series while still getting to know the characters? Ooh.
Ooh. Hang on, I gotta IMDb this real quick because I can't remember.
Multi-part episodes.
Um,
Yeah, what multi-part episodes, aside from the ones that focus on Tommy, would you recommend to people who have watched all the other seasons except MMPR in order for them to understand the bigger picture of the series?
I do love kind of looking at the IMDb for it, how like we pretty much had zero multi-parters until Green with Evil, which ended up being 5 parts.
Jesus.
Um,
They had a few after that, though, right?
yeah.
Is that when they started?
Oh yeah, the one that was actually meant to be the series finale. Doomsday Part 1 and 2 was a pretty epic conclusion, to my opinion. Even though it wasn't actually like a conclusion, but a pretty epic two-parter.
So that might be a good suggestion. Yeah, I don't have that list in front of me. I can't remember off the top of my head. So we'll go with that one. Sorry. Roberto Buena. In the early episodes of Ninja Storm, Dustin mentioned there were multiple ninja schools outside of the Wind Ninja Academy and the Thunder Ninja Academy. Could they have spun that into Ninja Steel, being a rival school instead of the high school setting? I would have loved the Ninja Storm sequel. Ninja Storm did a lot that came to the ninja aspects, ninja powers, elemental powers, fight scenes, overall lighthearted tone with this crazy mix of a rocket power meets superheroes. Whereas in Ninja Steel, we had the generic homework and very bad comedic relief storylines instead of actual ninja stuff. Yeah, and a base that was in a school garage, but nobody else managed to find it. It was odd. It was odd. Could they have spun Ninja Steel being a rival school instead of a high school setting? Absolutely. But by the time we got to Neo Saban era, it's like all creativeness just went out the window. So talk about missed opportunity there, huh, Stuart? But that's something I probably honestly would have loved to have seen so much more over what we ended up getting.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like almost anything would have been more creative than what we ended up getting. But that's Neo Saban for you with the whole oh, kids don't understand continuity. You can't have connections to other past seasons.
So crazy. Adrian Perez. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. What do you think of JDF's Legends of the White Dragon film confirmed for a release date for this upcoming summer in select movie theaters? And do you think if it does well, it could spawn a sequel, even though JDF is no longer with us? Perhaps the first film itself will have a cliffhanger where JDF's daughter, Jenna, were to take over as the character's successor as the White Dragon. I think if Jenna were to succeed him, this would allow his fans to see his creation expand into its own franchise. Since we already know that that some already want Jenna to be the next Power Ranger or superhero in general, while others feel she shouldn't just because she's his daughter. Basically nepotism. Um, so I am super excited for this. I am really eager to see JDF on the big screen, seeing his vision come to fruition and actually be on the big screen. I think it's going to be pretty epic in and of itself, regardless of what the story is actually like. Could it spawn a sequel? I mean, look, I don't know what the story is like. I don't know if it's got a pretty close ending to it, if it's open ended, if I don't even know how Jenna's character plays a role in this movie. Maybe there's no reason for her to even be a sequel and her starring in it. You know what I mean? I really don't know what this movie is going to be. So the potential of what this can turn out to be, I'm under the impression that it's a one-off. Um, you know, I almost think regardless of how well this movie does, the Kickstarter's already paid for all this, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there's probably some money they're probably hoping to get back. But I got to imagine a lot of this is just going to be sort of revenue for them. So whether or not that's put towards making a sequel or not, I would just say no. I would just say stay away from it personally. It's JDF's last film. If he didn't have intentions of making a sequel, I say just leave it alone personally, Stuart. But what about you?
I think it all depends on what the movie itself is about and how it
Yeah.
ends. But as of now, I don't really see a need to continue it going forward after this movie. But that opinion of mine could change after like I actually see it. As for her being kind of like the face of Power Rangers going forward, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing her in Power Rangers. I'd have to see her audition first. Obviously, I wouldn't want her to get a
Mhm.
job as a Power Ranger just because she's JDF's daughter. But she may actually be very talented and maybe worth seeing as a Power Ranger if that's something she's interested in. So I would,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it if she does a good job.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it either. I know her father definitely taught her martial arts, so I know she's certainly more than capable. But what's the performance and acting like? If she's good enough to be in the series, then yeah, go ahead and put her in there. I think there's something cool about seeing sort of a second generation of a Power Ranger character, or at least an actor, kind of coming on board. So that's something I personally would really love to see, but not just given to her because she is the daughter of JDF, but if she's pretty good for the role and she fits what they're looking for, yeah, I'm totally on board for sure.
Mhm.
Francois, he says, you know how The Matrix and John Wick are two of Keanu Reeves' popular movie franchises? While The Matrix Resurrection was enjoyable, it was not well received. So, do you think that if that movie had the directors and writers of John Wick film, it would have been much better? Ooh.
Hard to say because like the John Wick movies have great fight scenes, but they're not like Matrix fight scenes. They're very like, even though they're over the top in like kind of a somewhat grounded kind of, real world type of thing. Whereas like the Matrix breaks reality. It literally says "f you" to the rules of reality. So I don't know if that would have translated very well if they tried to do a Matrix movie. But what do you think?
Um, you know what? I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah to this one.
Okay.
Um, I've been really impressed with what Chad Stileski has done with the John Wick franchise. Going back as far as one and just continuing to improve and build out the world scope of things. Um, for me, it would have been pretty interesting if they had originally approached him to do a Matrix movie. The question is, did we even need another Matrix movie? No, I didn't need another Matrix movie. But if we were going to get another Matrix movie, considering how Matrix Resurrection did, I didn't mind the film. I enjoyed it, but I can understand the pushback, and the reviews that it's certainly it not being well received. I can certainly understand that. But I think for me, I think Chad. I mean, because at that point, then you're just looking for, can the script be good? And, when you already have a trilogy of The Matrix, it's like if you're going to bring back The Matrix, what does that story certainly have to be? I think action wise, Chad would have nailed it. I think he probably could have done just as cool of I mean, he's got some great action sequences in John Wick. I think if you were to be like, okay, now put those into the Matrix, I think he probably could have done something even crazier, honestly. So for me, it really would come down to what would the script have been. And I think fresher eyes on a script like Chad would have it probably would have been a different Matrix movie, but I think it might have been one that I was like, "Damn, that's cool, man." Because I think Chad really would have pushed his own limits. I don't know if it would have been as like definitely wouldn't have been in the same realm. I don't think that they certainly would have been the same films, but I do think Chad's vision would have been an interesting one for Matrix Revolution. So I do think it probably would have been a better film.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. Jessica Friedman, would you like to see Batgirl get a second chance at a movie one day? And which Power Ranger team would you like to see get an MMPR like reunion special one day? Batgirl, I will say, yeah, I would like to see Batgirl get a second chance. I still think that there's an opportunity here for Leslie Grace. I think I've said it before when we talked about James Gunn's DCU slate, The Brave and the Bold. I think if you're going to pull the trigger on it, I think that's a great place to go. If we're bringing in Damian Wayne, to me that means Dick Grayson is older. He's probably in his Nightwing gear already. Knowing his relationship with Barbara Gordon, I gotta expect that she's an older woman also. Maybe not older woman, but maybe around the same age as Nightwing. You know what I mean? And look, I think we already have a Batgirl cast. I personally would love it if they stuck with Leslie Grace, despite the fact that he didn't stick with her film. Everything that they had been saying was, look, it's nothing against the talent. The talent is there. Well, if that's truthful, I think she should get that opportunity. They're very open to working with the directors once again, as the directors are open to working with Warner Brothers. So I hope in order to make amends, it's like, hey, we didn't give you your solo film, but we still want you as the character. That's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for. So I'm hoping for a Leslie Grace as Batgirl to pop up in The Brave and the Bold. What about you, Stuart? Do you think Leslie Grace's time is up and they'll recast, or what?
I hope she gets another chance at it. Because yeah, I think the fact that they mentioned that had nothing to do with the talent involved, and the fact that she has been incredibly mature about the whole situation. Whereas like for me, if I was an actor, I ain't ashamed to admit that if I had my whole movie just suddenly like taken off the shelf for a tax write-off, I'd probably be pretty vocal on how pissed off I'd be. The fact that she's been very professional about this whole thing. I think she definitely deserves that second chance, especially if what they're saying is true, that she did a good job and that had nothing to do with why it got taken off of shelves.
And outside of MMPR, is there any other team you'd like to see have a reunion special?
Time Force! Time Force!
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see that. Either that or even I was gonna say In Space, but once you said Time Force, I'm like, that's probably the team I probably would love to see.
Yeah.
Um,
It had some of the best, like, I think, actors in the franchise, and seeing that most of them now have actually just gotten better over the years, I would really love to see how much their acting has really improved. And it's also kind of cool because I went to a Time Force panel at Power Morphicon, and the cast and crew just seem to really have a lot of chemistry with each other, even now after so many years.
after
So I
all those
feel
years.
like they could play off each other really well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good one to see, certainly see. We're going to try and get to at least 2.5 questions here before we wrap up. Ram Jam, we kind of talked about this already, Stuart, but what are your thoughts on Ron Wasserman coming back to do music?
I'm pretty
Or once
excited.
again?
I mean, I love his scores in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, I still listen to a lot of them. Like, Go Green Ranger Go is so freaking catchy. You Cross My Line, I love it. A lot of people theorize that that was a song he wrote for Saban himself, which I wouldn't doubt. But yeah, I love his music, and I'm really excited to see him come back, or to hear him, I guess, come back in the reunion special.
Yeah, he's like the John Williams of Power Rangers music, I guess, for
Yes.
some of us. So yeah, Ron Wasserman, I'm looking forward to some epic music. Sam, do you think we might get another Common Rider adaptation season? Maybe Build 01 or maybe another season? Do you
I
think we might
wish.
get another Common Rider adaptation season? Oh, what do they mean by that?
Like, kind of like how with Ryuki, how they adapted that into Kamen Rider Dragon Knight back in like
Oh,
2008.
I
Um,
get you.
yeah, I don't see it happening because I feel like I don't know. You don't see that style of adaptations anymore. I'm sorry. I was trying to think of like how to put it. Because like, yeah, Power Rangers is a very unique thing of how it like, mixes stock footage with new footage. But even that's like starting to go away because Cosmic Fury is only using stock footage of the Zords now. So I feel like if they're not even going to use stock footage for suit fights and Power Rangers, I don't see it being easy to pitch the idea of doing that with a whole new show altogether. But I would, I wish they would, because I feel like 01 would be really easy to adapt into an American adaptation if they wanted to. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think they're doing such a good job already, or at least attempting to try and push Common Rider more here in the West.
Mm.
So I think if anything, they're trying to put over what they have. Maybe they're trying to avoid the Power Ranger thing happening again, where Power Rangers become so huge in America that people just forget about Super Sentai. So it's like Common Rider's our thing, that's ours now. We're not letting anybody adapt the hell out of that anymore. If we want you Americans to see it, it's gonna come from us directly. So I think they've been doing a pretty good job of at least that push of Common Rider here into the States.
If anything, I could see like an original Common Rider series being created in America using an American actors, but it wouldn't be like adapting any Common Rider shows. I think it'd be 100% like original.
Original. I get you.
Yeah.
And this will be our last question from good old Jack Daniels, because it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Stuart, we have two questions from Jack. He has one specifically for you that I'll have you answer in your own time here. But he says for Adam well, you know what? Let's go ahead and knock this out. We'll just do Jack Daniels in total. So for you, Stuart, if our current Power Ranger universe were to continue, if Jonathan Entwistle's reboot did not do well, or Hasbro decides not to go through with it, similar to Once a Ranger, pick 6 veteran Rangers you would like to see return in a brand new season where the
Ooh.
younger Rangers lose their powers or get kidnapped, and those 6 veterans were to be called upon to defend the city until the current team was back at action.
This is a good question. How about you answer your question
What
first,
do you think
and
about
I'm
that?
going
Okay.
to come up with a team real quick.
Okay. This one's for Adam and Indy. What do you guys think of this year's Oscars compared to last year's, plus the opening monologue by Jimmy Kimmel? And if TV was added as a category, what TV series would make a great choice to win an Oscar? Probably Last of Us. If it made the cut, I don't know, that might not have made the cut this year for Oscars. That might have made the cut for next year's Oscars. But Last of Us, I think, definitely be up there. When they have their own Oscars. Those are called the Emmys. So I definitely expect The Last of Us to be awarded some Emmys for sure. Going next year. But as far as what do I think of this year's Oscars? Look, me and the girlfriend watched them, and we had a good time watching them. I was really impressed with the Oscars this year. I had a lot of fun. I think Jimmy Kimmel as a host is great. He's got some great jokes. They're not too over the top that I think people should get super offended by. But it is one of those things too, though. Like anytime Jimmy Kimmel makes a joke now, I feel like I'm just on eggshells. Like, is that what comedy has turned into? Where it's like, oh, I hope nobody gets offended. It's just terrible that when it comes to comedy, just the idea of somebody making a joke that we just can't laugh at ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because some of this shit is pretty funny when you look at it. And so I thought Jimmy Kimmel did a pretty good job after what happened last year in the Oscars. Maybe everybody was a little bit more timid this time around. Like, I don't know if you should joke about that, type of thing. But I thought he handled it as best as you possibly can. And I am a Jimmy Kimmel fan. I do enjoy his perspective from time to time. I do think he's got some pretty good jokes under his belt, and I really enjoyed him as a host. I wouldn't have minded seeing him perform a little bit more in regards to doing things like classic Oscars used to do and performing out scenes, or I don't know if they needed a dance montage in the beginning or not. Who knows? But overall, as a guest, as a host, I thought Jimmy Kimmel did a really good job, and the pacing of it seemed pretty good. I don't think there were too many speeches that went super long. There were some really great moments, some very memorable ones for a lot of actors. I loved a lot of the speeches. A little bit bummed that Angela Bassett didn't win supporting actress. And while I've only seen everywhere, everything, all I don't remember. I can't even say the name of the title right. I always get jumbled over it. I've only seen it once, and I think I might have fallen asleep in the middle of it. Not because it was a bad movie, but it was just I'm just 40 years old, guys. Okay, I can't stay up late and watch movies like I used to. So I don't really know the full scope of what Jamie Lee Curtis's performance was like. But in a grand scheme of things, in regards to her career, this is her first fucking Oscar win. Really? Like, for me, I'm happy for Jamie Lee Curtis in that regards. I think it probably would have been Angela Bassett's first Oscar also. But look, at the end of the day, only one person can take it home. I think Angela Bassett got shaft, but I'm not gonna like pull up a middle finger to the Oscars or shit over Jamie Lee Curtis because she won. Congratulations to her, man. It happens that way sometimes. But aside of the Angela Bassett stuff, because I personally think she should have won. Um, Outside of that, I thought it was another great night of the Oscars. What did you think, though, Stuart? Did you like the Oscars? Did you watch the Oscars?
I didn't watch the Oscars, but I do, even coming from someone who loved Everything Everywhere All at Once, so this was my second favorite movie of the year, and I'm deeply offended that you fell asleep while watching it.
I'm sorry, bro. No, I'm sorry. No, the girlfriend's sister brought it over late at night, and we were trying to watch it, and I wind up passing out. And so I've never finished the movie. And I've been trying to watch this fucking movie forever. So, pardon my language, monetization, but I've been trying to watch this movie forever, and it's always behind a paywall. They always want me to rent or buy, and I'm like, no, I just want to watch, please.
I can't remember. I think maybe Hulu has it or Paramount Plus. I don't remember, but definitely do yourself a favor when you get a chance. But anyways, the point I was going to make is that even though I love this movie, I do agree that it was bizarre that this was what Jamie Lee Curtis got an Oscar for, because she wasn't even really okay. To me, she was doing a great job as a supporting actress, but that was it. She wasn't like trying to give like the performance of a lifetime. She was trying to give a really fun, entertaining performance, nothing to write home about, because she's not trying to one up any of the other actors in the movie. She's trying to just play kind of the funny mean lady, basically. Is like, and she does a good job of it, but I would never have considered like that would be an Oscar worthy performance. I would have just been like, yeah, it was a great performance. Perfect for what they needed. So yeah, it was really bizarre to me that they didn't give it to the woman from Black Panther, because I thought that was completely different. Like, her speech definitely had me choking up. Her death was incredibly sad. Every scene she was in, she stole the show. So to me, it's bizarre she didn't get in. The only like argument I can kind of see is that maybe because she did too well, she kind of stole the show, and therefore she wasn't doing her job as a supporting actress. So if that's the argument you want to go with, okay, fine, but that's a really weak argument.
Yeah, no, that's a really weak argument. I mean, because I totally agree. I mean, every scene that she was in, she was just so captivating. She got shafted. She definitely got shafted. Look, congratulations, Jamie Lee. I'm not gonna, shit talk you or anything like that. But Angela Bassett definitely got shafted, faux show. Especially because even the previous awards leading up to the Oscars, I feel like she almost literally ran the gambit of winning those awards also. So now that she comes into the Oscars, she doesn't win. I mean, it's just, yeah, a little shady. But going back to your portion of the question, Stuart, 6 veteran Rangers, who you got? And we'll wrap up.
All right. So The way I would do it, so I'd have one. I want to make sure I didn't have any or too many people from the same team. So I want to make sure it was someone from a different team. But basically, Billy would be the Blue Ranger. Jen from Time Force would be the Pink Ranger. We got to have that comedic relief. So Ziggy would be the Green Ranger. Taylor would be the Yellow Ranger. And then
Hey,
we'd
Taylor
have
got
the
one.
hesitant leader, the one who doesn't want to come back, but because, it's the end of the world, he has no choice. I would have Jack from SPD come back as the Red Ranger. And then as like kind of a sixth ranger, I'm not too sure. I probably would go with RJ, even though we already have a comedic
Hey.
relief. I still think it would be kind of cool to have RJ come back as the Purple Ranger. And yeah, I think that would be my team.
I would love to see RJ and Ziggy bouncing off of each other. That would be some great side missions for them to get to go on together.
See
I would
Ziggy
love to
be
see
like,
those.
whoa, I don't have to choose between being smart or being a comedic relief. You can actually be both.
Yeah, you can actually do both, Ziggy. But all right, guys, that will wrap up our live viewer questions. So we'll go ahead and work on a separate video for you guys. If it's not myself, it might be Stuart, but we'll start at Kurt Marino. And we'll work all the way. Oh, we don't have that many more questions to go through, so that should be a quick video. Kurt Marino up to Jackson Peterson, guys. So we'll definitely get to those questions. So definitely expect that. If not tomorrow, then on Tuesday. But that will wrap up all of our live viewer questions, guys. So thank you, everybody who certainly participated here this week. And also, shout out to Blossom once again for the fantastic super chat and supporting the channel that way. It definitely does go a long way. So thank you so much for that. I think other than that, I think that's going to do it for us. Just a heads up in regards to some videos headed your guys' way. Indy's going to be giving you guys the Flash review later on this week. We also got reviews from Stuart coming for Superman and Lois season 3. You can go ahead and check those when he drops those Thursday afternoon, right? Is that when you usually drop them, Stuart?
Yeah. I usually do it like Wednesday night is when I'm doing the video, and then I'll have it edited and ready to go Thursday morning.
And then you can also expect Gotham Knights reviews for you guys to drop Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. And then we have our live review of The Mandalorian Season 3 that we go live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. I may be trying to invite Will Polk from Scene and Nerd on an episode breakdown for The Mandalorian sometime within the next week or so. So if you're interested in getting Will's point of view on The Mandalorian episode of the week, you might be able to see him here in a week or two. So just keeping you guys posted. But other than that, we got a ton of other great content heading your way. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, guys, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button as well. It certainly does go a long way also. And I think that'll wrap it up for us. Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter and on Instagram.
And guys, if you want to follow us on social media, right up here at A Plus Opinions, very active over on Twitter. You can catch us on Instagram as well as our main hub, which is our Facebook page where we post all news throughout the week for you guys. Join our Discord too if you haven't. We have some great conversations over there. There is a link in the description box below if you like that forum community sort of setup. Definitely join the Discord there. Trying to think where else you could find us. Spotify, if you're not following us on Spotify, feel free to find us on over there as well. There is another link in the description box below where we have audio versions of this channel, of these videos, along with video. And shout out to Frankie, man, with that last minute addition. Appreciate you coming through with the support, man, for $2. He says, Adam and Stuart totally agree with you about Angela Bassett being shafted. She was grounded and made Black Panther Wakanda Forever. The real supporting actress for everything. Everything was Stephanie Hugh. I'm probably butchering the last name. I apologize. But yeah, that felt more like a supporting character role than Jamie Lee Curtis's.
Yeah.
So thank you, Frankie, for your perspective and your thoughts. And again, supporting the channel, man. All this, again, will always go towards our technology here to upgrade so we have better quality. Hopefully we'll be able to get the opportunity to do more convention coverages. I'm trying to get business cards out here. I'm trying to do a new logo design. So trust me, guys, a lot of this stuff definitely does help the channel. And hopefully we'll be able to start paying Stuart and Indy for all their incredible hard work that they certainly have around here. But trust me when I say all your support definitely is needed. So thank you so much, guys, for everything. But that'll do it for us, man. We'll be back next Sunday, so certainly join us then. But in the meantime, do us a big favor as always. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.